what happened, Larry, when you fucked a stranger in the ass.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I see issue with that. And again, hey.
You're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency. That's not going to happen.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
I'm Ted Cruz, and my pronoun is kiss my ass.
So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, everyone. A pleasant good evening. Welcome, dissidents, one and all, to the Do Dissidents podcast. My name is Keaton Weiss, here with Russell Dobular, of course.
Hello.
Thank you all very, very much for being here tonight. 208 strong to start in the YouTube chat. 59 strong in the Rumble chat. Jake in the booth. Whole crew is here tonight. Please hit that like button, folks. Let's get some more people in here tonight. Let's get a big crowd going tonight for Jimmy Buffett. Russell and I have dressed the part for Jimmy Buffett's. That's why we're wearing our Hawaiians, even though this is the weekend where, informally, of course, the fall season begins. In fact, Jimmy Buffett has a song called Come Monday. I was listening to that in the car today while I was working. The opening line is heading up to San Francisco for a Labor Day weekend show. So that's where we are right now. Yeah. Jimmy Buffett, everybody, 76 years old. Big music fan I am. Jimmy Buffett was always one of those guys that I always kind of admired his marketing because his songs were really about middle-class white people on vacation, which is a great demo to target if you're a singer-songwriter, right? Because you'll sell a lot of albums that way. You'll sell a lot of tickets that way, right? It's like feel-good music for average people. It's like what Bruce Springsteen fans would listen to on vacation, you know?
Yeah, you got a contract with Carnival Cruises for life with that gig.
Exactly. I mean, what could be better? That was a life well spent, you know. Didn't live terribly long, 76 years old, right on the top of the bell curve, right? Average lifespan, I think, for a male. But a life well lived. I mean, playing acoustic guitar, you know, wearing comfortable T-shirts, strumming on a beach. I mean, how could you live a life better than that?
He was really the Kmart pop star. He was the Kmart of music legends. Right?
Yeah.
It's very you feel like you could run into him in the aisle at Walmart buying something.
Yeah, he seemed like a very, very regular person. Some really great songs. Pirate Looks at 40 is a great song. For what it is, Margaritaville is a great radio pop song. I mean, it's a great tune.
Anthem.
You know? It's a great tune. It's a great tune. Hey,
what are his fans called? What are they? Tuna heads? Is that? There's a name.
There is a name. Yeah, I forget. There was a meme that was circulating.
All right,
I forget what it was.
Chat. What is the name for Jimmy Buffett fans? I forget.
Yeah, let us know.
A name for it. Let us know in the chat.
This is Russell's last show stateside for a while. Russell is heading out to Italy tomorrow night. Basically, he's catching a red eye. So he will be live, excuse me, from the Mediterranean for the month of September. I have some fill-in hosts that I'm lining up for Friday mornings. Other than that, it looks like Russell will make almost all of the evening shows since they'll be happening in the middle of the night over there. And so we are looking forward to a fun September, October. I made a great red sauce the other night. You know, Russell's traveling.
Arrivederci, motherfuckers. Yeah.
Parrot
All right,
heads,
everyone
that's
says
okay.
parrot heads,
That's
so
what
I
it is.
guess
No, that
that's
makes
it.
sense. That was part of the meme. Yeah, I should have gotten that. I made a great red sauce the other night. Russell's flying halfway around the world for good red sauce. I can make some right here.
That's really the only reason I'm going.
Yeah, right.
I fucking piss on Michelangelo. Fucking depressive, non-binary motherfucker.
Going for some pasta sauce, exactly. Going for some pasta sauce. You know what I made pasta sauce based on? So anybody watched that TV show The Bear? There was a quick shot in season 1 of The Bear that got a lot of people's eyeballs because in The Bear, the main character, his deceased brother, had a signature pasta sauce, a great red sauce that they would make in the Chicago beef shop that they ran, and it was a very quick shot, but it caught on because it was a ton of garlic in some olive oil, bubbling with some basil in it, and like red chili flakes. And it was a breakthrough moment for me in terms of cooking red sauce because you would think red sauce doesn't use a lot of garlic. You'd think it uses some, but not a lot. No, you actually have to use a lot more garlic in a red sauce than you would in like an olive oil based sauce because you need a lot of savory flavor to cut against the acid of the tomato. So it makes sense. You would need to use a lot of garlic. So it's very, very simple for anybody who wants to try it because it kind of went semi-viral, right? People were looking up, how do you make that sauce from the TV show? 10 garlic, and then as many basils as you want, some oil, get a good, half an inch of oil in a pan, 10 cloves of garlic, basil, chili flakes, get that nice and warm, put it in a blender, then combine with onion and crushed San Marzano tomatoes. Spring for the San Marzano tomatoes. That is the key.
Okay,
you need good quality tomatoes. Don't get the cheap tomatoes. It's only like an extra $1 for the San Marzano designation. I don't know, some kind of quality mark. Definitely spring for those. It's amazing. This way you don't have to fly all the way to Rome for red sauce.
Well, you see, the problem is you grew up around your own people, and I grew up with Italians because what you just described I've been making for 20 years.
How many cloves of garlic do you use in a red sauce?
Not 20. I'll put in like
10.
No, but it's no for what you're just. I know exactly what you're talking about. Like it's a lot.
You need a lot.
It's like 12 to 15.
You need a lot of garlic,
something like that. And it's very heavy on the. You put a lot of oil in.
Yep.
And I learned that recipe from Italians.
All right, beautiful. Well, good for you. So now you can go to Italy and show that off as well. Now you can...
I don't think I'm going to be showing off for them.
Yeah, right.
No, you know what's interesting? I mean, just like anything else, there are certain foods. I told you when I went to India, I was surprised. Well, not really surprised, but the menu is exactly the same, except certain regional dishes that we don't usually see. Lal mas was something I really liked in that region that I've never seen it on a menu here. But the general menu, samosas, all that's there. But everybody knows they fucked up Italian food here. It's American Italian food. They don't actually eat that shit. So I've been doing a lot of research. There are like interesting regional dishes, like in Florence, one of their staples is like cow stomach, like in a sandwich. It's like a cow stomach sandwich.
Interesting.
There are all of these dishes in Italy that are, well-known dishes that we've never heard of. You've never seen that on a menu.
Right. Yeah. No, that sounds like it'll be a fun trip, and Russell will be broadcasting live from Italy starting this Wednesday. So let's get to what we got tonight. Russell, you got a book recommendation for us to kick things off?
Yes. All right, so it's rare that I get to offer one of the books that has shaped my understanding of the world, but because we're covering Burning Man, it made me think about how a lot of the kind of fusion of kind of this Eastern mysticism with capitalism. So, you have to visualize a Mercedes. That's the kind of ethos that to me is embodied in something like Burning Man. So the Upstart Spring really gets into how a lot of this school of thought came out of a place that's still there, the Esalen Center. So Alan Watts passed through there, Werner Erhard, who would go on to found Landmark Forum, which back then was known as EST. L. Ron Hubbard passed through there. So all of these figures that went on to kind of take this weird fusion that they were experimenting with of Eastern mysticism with, you can have a beautiful mansion. You only have to believe it. That really comes out of Esalen. And a lot of these kind of, pay us money to overcome your blockages kind of Scientology-esque really started at Esalen. So if you look at Burning Man, you look at the crowd that's there today, these are really the grandchildren of the 60s at the Esalen Center. A lot of things that today have become staples, not all of them bad. Group therapy came out of their experiments, something that didn't survive except in places like Landmark Forum, encounter sessions. I was a little too prone to lawsuits for it to continue in mainstream psychology, but it lives on in, things like that. So yeah, I would really recommend this if you want to know that history. When you look at things like Scientology and you say, how the fuck did that even happen? This will explain that to you. When you meet your friend who wants you to go take an introductory session at Landmark Forum, you can explain to them where it comes from because they probably don't know.
All right. The Upstart Spring is the book recommendation for tonight.
Walter Truett Anderson.
Truett Anderson. Beautiful. We got some super chats we're going to get to. We got some Rumble rants we're going to get to. Jake, our producer in the booth, is fielding those Rumble rants. So if you're over on Rumble and you want to ask us a question or give us a comment that we'll respond to, put a buck or two on it. Really helps a lot. That goes for the YouTube audience as well. We'll start getting to some super chats in a few moments, but let's get to headline number one of the night, shall we? Got a lot to cover. Folks, this is a story that is both hysterically funny and really infuriating. Now, how could it be both? Well, a lot of stories have to be both. If that weren't the case, we wouldn't have a show, right? That's what we do. We get you mad about things, and then we make you laugh about things. So there's no real better way to get you pissed off and angry at the same time than to show you this headline here. The Gretchen Whitmer administration used calculated scheme to hide sensitive email from the public, lawsuit says. All right, let's get into this from the Washington Free Beacon. A consultant for Governor Gretchen Whitmer used a coded message in a calculated effort to conceal from the public record sensitive communications regarding the administration's response to a local water crisis in Michigan, according to a lawsuit. Michigan Energy Department consultant Andy Leavitt, probably likes to pronounce it Levitt, but I like calling him Leave It because you could say leave it to leave it. That's a good name for a political consultant. Hey, don't worry about it. Leave it to leave it. Leavitt's got it, right? Andy Leavitt in September 2021 emailed a top advisor to Whitmer to express some, quote, major red flags with the administration's response to a lead water crisis in southwestern Michigan, which Leavitt compared to a similar crisis in Flint, Michigan. But Leavitt's initial message was not written in English. The consultant used letters in the Greek alphabets in place of English ones, a move that, quote, appears to be calculated to conceal the statements, a June court filing in a class action suit against Whitmer's government argues. Leavitt's use of Greek letters means his email would have been excluded from any public records request for government communications that contain the word Flint. In other words, how do you get around the censors? We get around the censors here by making up substitute words for certain words that we're not supposed to say. He does the same thing. Leavitt's 2021 coded message discusses the lead water crisis in Benton Harbor, a small town in southwestern Michigan. The town's water system for years exceeded federal standards for lead contamination, prompting a group of residents in November 2021 to sue Whitmer over her government's, quote, deliberate indifference to addressing the crisis. 1 month before the residents filed their suit, Leavitt, a partner at a Michigan strategic consultant firm who was advising Whitmer's energy department, emailed Whitmer's senior advisor, Kara Cook, to express his concern over the administration's, quote, not acceptable warnings to Benton Harbor residents. Sounds like Flint all over again, right? Leavitt's top-line assessment of the warnings, however, was written using the Greek alphabet. Here's the email. As you can see, it's written entirely in Greek so that it wouldn't show up on any public records request searches. The translation, for those who are not well-versed in Greek, although Russell will be by this time next month, maybe you could get a job, doing investigative journalism over in Michigan. Yeah, exactly. This translates to hot off the presses. As I warned, there are some major red flags. It seems like we are back at square one, having not learned from Flint. While the lawsuit eventually led to the discovery of Leavitt's message, because it wouldn't show up in the searches, what happens when you file a lawsuit, you have a legal team parse through, hundreds, maybe even thousands of documents. It's called document review. It's a major branch of law. A lot of people get paid a lot of money to parse through documents all day, every day. So while the lawsuit eventually led to the discovery of Leavitt's message, the email likely would have remained hidden from the public if Whitmer's administration had not faced legal action. That's because Michigan's Public Records Department is unable to electronically search for records that use Greek letters, government correspondence obtained by the Washington Free Beacon shows. As a result, even if a concerned citizen or political group caught wind of the tactic and requested Energy Department communications that use certain Greek letters, Michigan's government would have been unable to provide them without searching for the letters manually, an extremely expensive process that can take years. Now, folks, like I said, this is a funny story in a sense, but it would just be funny if this were to hide like a sex scandal or some technical campaign finance matter. No, this is being done to cover up Flint's 2.0. And when we look at Benton Harbor, this is according to Data USA, let's look at the stats for Benton Harbor's 87% African-American town. By the way, that's not reflected in this graphic here, but look what is. Population 9,806, obviously 2 Democratic senators in Michigan. The median age 36.6. Look at the poverty rate. According to the last census, 44.9% poverty rate. Look at the median household income, $21,000 a year, $21,947. Look at the median property value at a time when nobody can afford a house anywhere, $59,000. Okay? So you talk about this being another Flint's. There has been reporting on this saying that this is actually worse than Flint's. And, as funny as it is that they used Greek letters to cover this shit up, it's absolutely infuriating that they would do this. I mean, this is something Rick Snyder would do. When Gretchen Whitmer ran for governor, she pledged a more transparent government than Rick Snyder's government. And now look at this. So on a more serious note, to broaden this out, this is why I keep coming back to this. This is why I screamed at Thomas Frank, fuck the country. Because I'm sorry, you're going to tell me that we're supposed to be invested.
You just have to keep reopening that wound, Keith.
I'm just saying. This is what I mean, man. Because you're going to tell me, and I know you pretty much agree with what I'm saying here. You're going to tell me that we have to keep Trump out of office to protect our democracy. Are you really telling me this country here is really worth investing in? I mean, Whitmer gets mentioned in a lot of conversations. He's almost certainly going to run for president in 2028, no matter what happens this time. She's a rising star in the Democratic Party. She's one of the highest profile executives in the Democratic Party right now. She's almost certain to run for the highest office in the land. This is the kind of shit that they pull. Not to cover up a stupid thing. If it were a technical thing, a finance thing, a sex scandal, or what? No, this is the poisoning of a small, poor, mostly black town. Again.
Well, this is why I wrote an entire article arguing we might be better off trying to take over the Republican Party. Because in the end, and I wrote another article dealing with why I was leaving the Democrats. A lot of people will argue to you as a final line of defense, well, what about poor black and brown people? Don't you care about them? It's easy for you to say from your position of privilege that you won't vote Democrat. And people who say that only look at media that doesn't tell them about this. And to put some personal responsibility on them, they're completely incurious about stories like this.
Right.
You cannot argue if you sit down and you dig into the modern, we're not talking 1964 here, the modern history of the Democrats and the Republicans. The Democrats have done more real world harm to people of color than Reagan in his wildest dreams did to people of color. Now, I'm not saying that's because Republicans are better disposed. I think they have a different economic calculus, and they also face different media scrutiny. So I'm not saying it's because the Republicans are better, but they have different incentive structures. For Democrats, they believe they can take those voters for granted. We're seeing right now in Trump's numbers with that community that may finally be catching up with them. But for a very long time, they've just felt like we don't have to do anything for that community. Not only do we not have to do anything for that community, we can actually hurt that community in order to please white people in the suburbs to get their votes. And they'll still vote for us because we're going to go up there and we're going to talk about racist Republicans and that kind of thing. And in the end, we're still dining out on the Civil Rights Act. For Republicans, the math is very different. One, they do not get the pass from the media that Democrats do. Democrats, look, what did Biden take? I forget his name, the congressman from Louisiana, who was the black congressman of Cancer Alley, a mostly
I forget what you're talking about, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
mostly African American area outside of New Orleans with incredible cancer rates because of the chemical plants that they allow there. It gave him a position with the environment when Biden came in. What if the Republicans had done that? The media would have been all over that. This guy is the congressperson from Cancer Alley, and these horrible Republicans put him in charge of environmental policy. They would have been all over it. So the Republicans have to think about that before they make moves like that, whereas the Democrats don't have to. But also for Republicans, the math is different. If they can peel away 5% of the black vote, Democrats can't win.
Right.
Not ever. All they need is 5%. So when you put all of that together, if you actually pay attention and your head's not just in the corporate media bubble, you know that Democrats kick poor black people in the teeth all the time, as badly or worse than Republicans do. That's a big part of why that argument is ludicrous if you actually know anything about what people like Whitmer actually do to those communities when no one is looking. And because of the media bias, generally nobody is looking. Who's reporting this?
Yeah, no, this was in the Washington Free Beacon. I mean, if Rick Snyder had done this, it would have come out. We're not saying Rick Snyder's hands are, I mean, obviously, he's the one who poisoned Flint on purpose. He poisoned Flint on purpose. He should be in jail, right? Republican governor.
Right.
But
and
then
under Barack
he went
Obama, he
in
did
2020,
not go to jail.
In 2020, Snyder endorsed Joe Biden over Donald Trump, and Biden touted that endorsement. All right, he didn't reject that endorsement, right? And so
it's not like Joe Rogan.
Right, yes, right. Not as bad as Joe Rogan, exactly. And so it's amazing just what a brazen thing to do that was, and how, that came out, Washington Free Beacon. I saw The Rising did a segment on it. But that's it. That hasn't been anywhere else. I haven't even seen that in progressive indie media anywhere else. Now, Washington Free Beacon, sure, that's a right-wing outlet, and there were some things in their article that, I didn't think were worth sharing because, like some of the stuff, like they mentioned how Michigan is not subject to FOIA requests. Well, every state has its own FOIA system. It's not like Michigan is unique in that way. Like states are all exempt from the Federal Information Act, but they all have their own FOIA statutes, right? So an outlet like the Washington Free Beacon, because they are ideologically biased, they'll put something like that in there as a way to make Michigan look especially bad under Whitmer, and it's not. So like I won't share that part of the article without debunking it, which I just kind of narrated it for you as an example. Right. But that doesn't mean the email is fake. The email is real. The email is obviously real. Right. And so, why isn't that a massive a massive scandal, especially given what has happened with Flint in, I shouldn't say previous years because it's ongoing.
Right. And if that had been a Republican, it would be a scandal. If that had been anything to do with Donald Trump, it would be a scandal. So this is why they do things like this, because they know they can get away with it. They know the institutional powers are not going to come for them. Certainly the media is not going to come for them. Nobody's actually watching out for these people. I mean, not even when it happened under a Republican. I mean, Rick Snyder's a free man. He should be in prison for the rest of his life.
Of course,
if you go and you poison your next door neighbor, you're going to jail. This guy poisoned an entire town. Why is he walking around? You know, it's as we may see here with Burning Man, it's going to be, people are already making the comparison. Well, let's see what they do about this compared to what they did with Maui.
Exactly. And just to put a button for people who don't understand what Rick Snyder, why it's absolutely criminal, not just like technically criminal. When we say he poisoned them on purpose, he switched the water supply from Lake Huron to the Flint River for Flint. Right. And then it wasn't like they didn't know it was poison, because the industrial plants in the town were saying that this is damaging the metal, it's damaging our parts. Right. And so he switched their water supply back and didn't switch the residents. So he obviously knew it was poison, right? So this is why we say he belongs in prison for the rest of his life, because he did that shit on purpose.
And then you're going to come and tell people they need to respect the law.
Right.
They need to respect the government.
Right.
They need to respect the institutions. You know, it reminds me of the line of Goodfellas. How could I see that and then go back to school and listen to that good government bullshit?
Right. Exactly.
You know, how do you look at that and then be like, yeah, I gotta go vote for Joe Biden? You know, the whole system is it's to a point that it's tragic to the level of comedy. You don't know whether to laugh or cry when you look at how corrupt and evil this system really is, when you look at things like Flint and now Benton Harbor.
Indeed. Pat Donahue, thanks for the €10, my friend. I see Oprah's Maui GoFundMe has only raised $5K. DD's beat Oprah. We made it, baby. I thought she had about $10 million in that fund. Did they do a separate GoFundMe? Or are you joking? I heard Oprah and The Rock are raising some money. I just think it's funny when like these two obscenely wealthy people. I mean, they've got to have a combined net worth of $3 billion between Oprah and The Rock, and yet
that's what people are
fundraising
saying
online. Yeah, give me the fucking break.
Well,
just
that's what people are saying. Yeah, that's what they're saying. A lot of people are coming up, and you know what? That tells you how much there has been a sea change in the way the public looks at wealthy, famous elites. Like, they have really lost the public. When Oprah, who, look, she has her critics, but generally she's been sainted, right? In America. And The Rock, you know, generally he's thought of as one of the good ones, you know, one of the nice celebrities. People are so full of anger right now that something that in the past, in the pretty recent past, there was a disaster, and you had someone like Oprah and you had someone like The Rock come up there, especially if they put up some money, they put up 10 million. The response would not have been, fuck these motherfuckers. I'm struggling. You're asking me for money? You could pay for this shit yourself. You could pay for this and you'll still be rich. That is one more sign that people like Oprah, people who are in the position that Oprah and The Rock are in, whatever you think of them personally, I'd be scared if I were them. I mean, that's telling me, you know, the pitchforks are coming. When you can't even go out and be like, hey, donate money for charity without people being like, fuck you.
You give them
You
money,
pay for it, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly.
You never would have seen that. I don't even think 5 years ago you would have seen that.
Yeah, no, exactly. The Myrtle Beach, Bob Dylan, Jimmy Buffett. Yes, indeed. Myrtle Beach. I know a lot about Myrtle Beach. Myrtle Beach is like the retirement community for people from the Hudson Valley. So many people from the Hudson Valley retire down there. Thank you for the donation, though. These bitches want Nikes. Thanks for the $5. Question for Russell. Does your job involve both stage plays and musicals? Well, Russell used to own some theaters. And if so, which do you prefer doing?
All right. So by the time I packed it in, I had developed a really good band as in a broad sense. I was doing like dark musical satire pretty much. I was doing stuff like I did Manson the Musical. My holiday show, Naked Holidays, would have like 7 musical numbers in it around. So I like doing musicals. I came up on these you had this genre in the 70s of like counterculture musicals like Phantom of the Paradise, obviously the Rocky Horror Picture Show and its sequel Shock Treatment. I loved those kind of like dark, very odd offbeat musicals. Like now there's no budget for that. Like they would never finance a movie like that now. But there was this wave of these weird alternative musicals in that period. The best known, obviously, being the Rocky Horror Picture Show. So I always liked those. And once I was able to put together people who were musically talented enough to do that, that's what I did for many years.
Yeah, I always like doing stage plays more. I always like just the straight plays more than the musicals. Abiding, thanks for the 99 cents. Appreciate that. Jax Page, thanks for the $2. Glad to catch you live. Love the shirts. Thank you so much. Appreciate that, Jax. And thanks for tuning in. Got some Rumble rants that we'll get to over here. Thanks, Jake, for fielding these. Bonzo Beans, how about you put together some DD music playlists? I would love to do that. That would be a lot of fun. Where would I post them that you guys would see them? Let me know where to post them. I don't know how I would do that. I
guess post it on our website.
Maybe the website, or maybe we'll have to figure out where to do. Yeah, maybe through Substack. That could be something. Thank you, Bonzo Beans. Yeah, I could just post them as YouTube links with the song. There you go. Where can I get one of those dope T-shirts? They're coming online soon. The shop should be open by next week. We should have the shop open, so you could shop right on the YouTube, and then we'll have a website where you can go and get some of that sweet merch. Thank you, Bonzo Beans, and thank you for the other donation here. Must try Roman side dish, fried artichoke, Jewish style. Yum, yum. That sounds great.
All right.
That sounds really good.
There's like the Jewish ghetto there.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued by fried artichokes. That sounds really good. I love artichokes. All righty. So let's get to our second headline of the night. We'll take more super chats in a little while, folks. But right now, let's go to headline number 2. This was from the Comedy Cellar podcast. Noam Dworman, who I had never heard of. I had never heard of this Comedy Cellar podcast. I obviously know the Comedy Cellar. It's an iconic Greenwich Village comedy club in New York City. But this was hosted by Noam Dworman, who interviewed another guy I had never heard of, Philip Bump from the Washington Post. Had you ever heard of Philip Bump?
I have never heard of Philip Bump.
Yeah, I had never heard of any of these people. I never heard of their show. I had never heard of any of this. But this clip got a lot of play on Twitter. This was the very end of an hour and 10-minute interview in which Noam was sort of pressing Philip on the corruption of Hunter Biden and his father, Joe, insisting that there was evidence, circumstantial evidence, true, but evidence, not proof, but evidence of corruption, evidence that Joe Biden was being paid under the table out of Hunter's salary, which, of course, there is circumstantial evidence for that. And they went back and forth for what was, I guess, so yes, very, very strong, yes. There was supposed to be a 45-minute interview. Apparently, they went for a little over an hour. And this is finally how the interview ended in what I would call a rage quit, but it's the closest the Washington Post dweeb could come to a rage quit. Right. So let's take a look how this wraps up.
Biden's activity when I agree with you that Hunter Biden's activity when Joe Biden was both serving as vice president and afterward, I agree that it was sketchy. I agree that it was a bad look. I agree that, particularly while he was serving as president, he ought not to have been doing that. If it emerges in the future, which it may, I absolutely concede the point that there may be direct evidence that Joe Biden took bribe money. That may come up.
What do you take from the text message to his adult daughter? Hunter's text message, I have to give 50% of my income to Pop.
I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what that means.
Well, how do you have no idea what that means? What do you mean you have no idea what that means? Like, it's incredible. How could you sit there and say, well, I don't know. I don't know.
No, I never heard of it. I never looked at it. I didn't see it. It's like a Jackie Mason routine.
Right. While we're paused, we've crossed the 666 viewer threshold. A very special 666 tonight.
Wasting away again in Margaritaville.
Beautiful. A
You just
special
can't
one.
bang your head to that. Doesn't
Yeah,
quite
yeah,
work.
exactly. Got to kind of bob it slow.
Gotta
Bob it
kinda
slow.
go with that. Yeah.
All right, let's hear it.
For the man. To honor the man.
To honor the man.
honor the man.
All right, let's hear the rest of this.
I know it's circumstantial evidence, and you prefer that.
No,
to
what
direct
what
evidence.
could it be?
I have no idea.
But doesn't it?
I don't know.
Well,
I appreciate your.
Has
I appreciate
anybody
having me on.
asked her?
I don't know. I don't know.
Don't you think somebody should ask her?
Okay. Like I'm not. I just said I don't know, and I don't know what to make of it, so I have nothing else to say about it.
Yeah,
what,
but
what do
doesn't
you want me to say?
Yeah, but you say there's no evidence, but then there's a text message where he says, "I give Pop 50% of my money." That's evidence.
Okay. Well, okay, fine.
So
it's evidence.
I mean, this is so. I mean, all they need is a Thanksgiving table, a turkey, and some sides, and you know what it's like arguing with your liberal uncle at Thanksgiving, right? I mean, that's what this says. There's no evidence. Well, what do you call a text message? That's evidence, right? Yeah, okay. I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, I don't know what it means. Maybe we'll find out. Yeah,
I guess.
I love what he says. Maybe evidence will emerge someday, as in like after the next 14 months. Right after November 2024, then we might find something out.
Well,
no.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, with these motherfuckers after 2028, and not even them. I mean, really, it's never. And what's tragic? Let's see the rage quit, and I'll give a take.
Okay, all right.
You're having me on.
It doesn't. That something like that. Who do you think is being more? I listen to that and I'm saying,
Am I?
okay, you can free to go.
I feel you want me to leave, like just walk out in the middle of this, because that way you can like.
You can go.
Right.
Is this a standard? Really, this is the way the Washington Post handles people who disagree with them.
When I agree to be on for 45 minutes,
go,
and then
go.
I get on for an hour and 15. Yeah, then after a while I go.
Go.
Thanks for having me.
All right, that's it.
All right,
And go. Okay, so
all
let me just play this one more time because he says, "I feel like you want me to leave."
I listen to that and I'm saying,
Am I?
you can free to go.
I feel you want me to leave, like just walk out in the middle of this, because that way you can.
Was Noam being hostile there? Not really. I didn't think he was being hostile. I mean, he was very patient. I listened to most of this. I didn't listen to the whole thing, I will admit, but I did listen to most of it. He's very patient the whole time, right? He doesn't explode on him, right? He doesn't call him a hacker or an asshole or anything like that. Yeah.
I saw a longer clip, and he keeps going back to that. Like, well, I feel like this was an ambush. You haven't offered any evidence. He says, well, every time I offer evidence, you shut me down. You know,
right,
yeah,
you say
he
it's
was
not
being
evidence,
very.
right?
You say it's not. Well, and that is what it's like to argue with these people. But how ironic and revealing that this guy is from the Washington Post. This is like you sat down with Woodward and Bernstein in 1974 and you said, so you don't think there's anything funny about that break-in? There could be.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Possible.
Maybe.
I'm not saying it was a great thing.
I'm
not saying it looks great. It looks a little shady.
It doesn't look great for the administration, but I mean, that's not. I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything.
Maybe something will come out. Maybe in 1979, 80, 81, something like that. Maybe something will
later
come out.
on,
You'll write a book,
and then I'll be all over it once it's
Exactly.
acceptable to talk about it.
Exactly.
Once it's no longer challenging power, and that's what struck me watching this. Well, I don't know. Well, you're a fucking reporter,
right?
Isn't it your job to go find out? Like this whole pose of like, well, what do you want me to do about it? I don't know anything. I haven't looked into it. Well, you should, right?
Right,
like
that
you're a
seems like the
fucking
point of the
reporter.
Conversation is for this guy to kind of communicate to you something he's concerned about. That you might want to look into it. No, there's nothing there. Well, there's this evidence here. Well, that's circumstantial evidence. That's not direct evidence. Okay, but that's evidence of a kind. Yeah, sure. Okay, so don't you think there may be something there? Yeah, maybe. Maybe someday we'll learn more. Like it's election season. You don't think now would be the time you'd want to learn
how would
more?
that happen? Gosh, it would be great if we had reporters to look into it.
Right.
So that we could find out what happened. It was also interesting that he smeared Taibbi there. He says, oh, he has an agenda. He doesn't explain what that agenda is. Part of his agenda is to point out that fucking hacks like you have taken over the news business and destroyed its reputation. That's a big part of his agenda, and I'm sure you don't like it very much.
Right. People who not only have shit opinions, but that's really not even the point. The point is whatever your opinions are, you have to have an interest in pursuing stories, an interest in pursuing truths, no matter where those truths lead. In this case, I mean, the case is as open and shut as it could possibly be, absent a smoking gun. I mean, it's very obvious Hunter Biden would be nowhere near any high-paying job if it weren't for his father. And so now you have text messages that say, I got to pay my pops half, and then you got the 10% for the big guy. I mean, it's as obvious as could possibly be. What, are we supposed to believe this guy doesn't know that? He's never heard of that? Like, the level of gaslighting is amazing. And this applies not just to this issue, but all these issues. Like I said, you can cite evidence and facts and data to back up whatever claim it is on whatever subject, doesn't matter. You get the same exact reaction, which is that. Oh, come on, you're crazy. Oh, all right, maybe you're not. Maybe there's something there, but whatever. I don't expect it to be a factor in the election, right? Because it's not a factor in their mind. As you say, maybe this is true, but it won't do anything. Yeah.
Well, that's what the media has reduced it all to. They've reduced it all to horse race. You know,
Right.
if you go back and you look up through the 80s, I have a book up here, but it's probably it's so old I wouldn't recommend it because it stops too early. But it really gets into how CBS was destroyed, because CBS at one time was the gold standard of television journalism. 60 Minutes, all of that. They would produce all of these documentaries, and they were really acclaimed. And the story of how CBS fell is really the story of how American journalism fell. When they had that wall between profit and news was free to go be news. Once they started looking to it for profit, that's when it stops being. You go back and you look at election coverage in the 70s, they'll talk about who's probably going to win. I mean, because that's interesting, but not that way. Not in this way that they do now. Like, they talk about policy. Well, his policy on the Middle East may hurt him, and they'll talk about that. It's not this. Well, when he went up on the stump in New Hampshire with all the graphics and shit, that's when they started bringing that in. That's when they started bringing graphics and quick editing and trying to get people to watch it.
Yep.
But
they had to start selling some sizzle.
Right. And this is what Taibbi talks about, that, guys like Bump, is he lying? Not really, probably not. He's the product of a system that favors hacks, because if you actually have integrity, you don't get this job at the Washington Post. You don't move up in the ranks. You're not doing this interview. You wind up at the Gray Zone. You wind up at Common Dreams. You don't wind up with this gig. And that's what Taibbi talks about. He says there's nobody who comes to you and says, you better not report that. But people can see who gets promoted and who doesn't get promoted.
Exactly.
They can see who gets an assignment and doesn't get an assignment, and it creates an incentive structure that favors fucking goons like this.
Exactly. All right, let's take some more super chats here before we do another segment here. Meteor Dreams, thanks for the $1.99, my friend. How true is the Ebola outbreak of Burning Man 2023? Not true, to our knowledge. Almost certainly untrue. Obviously, you can't prove a negative, but seems like no, that's not what's going on there. We will get
illness,
to that,
as you would expect, in a pit of mud and shit. But
yeah, it's a pit of mud and shit. They can't clean the porta potties. Some porta potties probably tipped over because of the flood. You have room temperature, if not above room temperature, depending on the, temperature out there, water mixed with sewage flowing in the ground.
You got people fucked up on ketamine, probably drinking some of it.
There's plenty of other things it could be. Yeah. So I don't know where that rumor got started, but no, I do not think there is an Ebola outbreak at Burning Man. Dave Delarai, I had to look this up actually. Oliver Anthony is trapped at Burning Man, thereby postponing his Midwestern Marks interview, according to Eddie Smith of Midwestern Marks. Also, fuck Burning Man overall. So I saw you posted that, and I looked, and it turns out Midwestern Marks appears to be live right now, saying that the interview is postponed due to flooding. Is he talking about the Burning Man flooding, though, or is there some other flood somewhere? Because I would be very,
the
very
way
surprised.
This summer is going, it could be any number of floods.
It could be anywhere. We had flooding in Vermont, just a couple weeks ago, really horrible floods. I mean, not only would Oliver Anthony be hurting his reputation by going to Burning Man, but I can't think of a more hostile crowd for him than the Burning Man crowd. Like,
That
you
would be pretty-
talk about
that would be pretty
just
funny.
effete liberal snobbery. Having him come there, yeah, there would not be a warm welcome.
All
But
right, all
I
right.
can't say you're wrong.
Olive-
He is live right now. They did say that they postponed the interview, but I'll look into it. But thank you for the donation.
Oliver Anthony running around Burning Man naked with a Prince Albert.
Yeah,
He'd be a legend.
Be a legend. Be a legend. Cool Blue 499. Harry Belafonte in the presence of Hillary Clinton was correct when he said the Democratic Party wasn't worth salvaging. Yes, Harry Belafonte was a real one, for sure. The Orange Ninja Turtle, otherwise known as Michelangelo, who Russell mentioned earlier. I think the most progressive person you can vote for is Trump, because when you vote Trump, the left activates and rallies against everything the American empire tries to do. But when a Dem is in, then no. I mean, look, I'm certainly, like I said, I see at this point Trump as the lesser evil, but I would not agree that Trump activates an anti-imperialist left. If anything, he de-radicalizes the libs even more. What was the thing they went after him for hardest was friendliness towards Russia, right? That was,
Right.
I mean, if Russiagate was not to reinforce the American empire, then I don't know what it was. So
That makes him
I
even
understand
more
what you're saying. Like, I think
pro-censorship.
the Black Lives Matter protests in 2020 probably had more teeth than they would have under a Democratic president, probably. Although I'm not sure about that. But I think in general, the sort of activist response to Trump was, what was it? We saw the March for Science, the Women's March. It was all that shit, right? But thank you for the donation.
And they obsess on censorship even more.
Even more. Well, that's the other part of it. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's go to a Rumble rant. Stone 122-112. Thanks for the buck. Biggest problem with our politics today is succumbing to lesser evilism and hopelessness. You Jews give me hope. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
you.
And happy to provide that for you.
I
Stone says,
never
even though
thought
I'm
I
no
would be
leftist, I do
described
believe
as
that
a bringer of
Shama...
hope.
What's that?
I never thought I would be described one day as a bringer of hope.
Yeah, me neither. He also says, even though I'm no leftist, I do believe that Shama and a new Labor Party is the right future course. Well, that's encouraging to hear. That's encouraging to hear.
That
Absolutely.
Is.
Absolutely.
That is.
All righty. Let's
That's what
do.
it's all about, man.
That's what it's all about. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Let's do one more quick piece, and then we'll get into some of our longer pieces of the night. But this is on the thumbnail, folks, because we needed everyone to know what was going on in Twitter world. This broke, well, it didn't break last night, but it seemed to catch on last night. Friend of show, Ryan Grimm, haha. Friend of everyone's favorite shows, Ryan Grimm, made an announcement on Friday, which was half surprising and half not surprising, because, almost a year ago at this point was when the railroad strike was getting ready to happen, and that's when Joe Biden called upon Congress to invoke the Railway Labor Act of whatever it was, 1918. I forget exactly what it was. Maybe it was the 20s. And they did. And the squad went along and voted for it. Rashida Tlaib, I believe, was the only one who voted no. Almost the entire squad voted yes. And he had that, now legendary sit down on the Brianna Joy Gray podcast where he and Shama Sawant went toe-to-toe with Ryan Grimm, somehow claiming that the squad were in the right to vote to break a strike because that's what they wanted. Railroad workers asked of them. And it just seemed so ridiculous. And Shama ripped into him, rightfully so, over it. And, Ryan Grimm is always one of these guys where I think one of the reasons why people treat him kind of harshly is because they know he knows better, because there was a time when a lot of us admired his work very, very much. He still does good work from time to time, but there's this thing where people notice, hey, you seem to have this just inexplicable soft spot for the squad. It seems like whenever people come out and criticize them and try to radicalize people against the Democratic Party by emphasizing their failures, you come in and say, well, be reasonable. They're doing the best they can. In this case, they responded to labor by voting to break a rail strike, which, according to our interviews with rail workers, was really not true. It made no sense on the face of it. Well, now we find out this Friday, Ryan Grimm has a new book coming out just in time for Christmas, coming out in early December. The title, The Squad. let's take a look at this brief audio trailer for his book that he put out on Twitter on Friday.
Coming out this December. I have a new book coming out this December. This one published by Henry Holt called The Squad, AOC and the Hope of a Political Revolution. It traces the evolution of the left in the United States from 2015, starting with Bernie's first campaign, through the 2022 midterms.
Traces the evolution of the left from people who liked me to people who can't stand me anymore. That's really what it was.
Imagine finding this under the tree on Christmas morning. Ha
Exactly.
It's essentially a sequel to my last one, and you can pre-order it now on all the book platforms, including independent ones. Pre-orders are hugely influential to how a book does on launch. So if you like the last book, please consider pre-ordering.
What was his last book?
The last book was called We've Got People, which was sort of, about the forming populist insurgency within the Democratic Party that ended up not really happening. But at the time, I guess he could be, forgiven for falling for that. Many of us did. But there's the squad. There's a squad. Notice he uses the Shepard Ferry Obama portrait for the cover, too, which is also kind of weird, since aren't they supposed to be the sort of antidote to the sort of neoliberal sort of Obama era that has been dominant in Democratic politics for these past several decades, even before the emergence of Obama himself?
If his publishers are paying attention, they know he's lost the real progressive, so they're going for the libs.
Well, yeah, they have to. They have to. And the book is available because I couldn't believe it. It's available for pre-order on Amazon right now, $28.99. You can pre-order it. It arrives December 5th, 2023, just in time for Christmas. But it just
be the first kid on your block.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It just never quite made sense. Like, I couldn't put it together why this guy who, he helped break the Tara Reade story after the Democratic primary, when it looked like Biden had the nomination sewn up. Like, he looked like he had some kind of backbone, and it was always this very weird thing where he would always run cover for the squad. And there were a lot of people in this space who saw it way before I did. I mean, I remember Jimmy Dore used to tear into him, and I honestly didn't know where he was coming from. It was
another case where, because he's been right so often, I didn't straight up say, that's fucking crazy, but I was thinking it. To be honest.
I was thinking it. I didn't see it. I didn't see it at all. I'm like, Ryan Grimm's one of the bad ones, really? But it turns out, and now here, a book. Because look, this is a 336-page book. It seems to be completion, either completed or at least near completion now. Which means, look, I've never written a book before. I imagine it takes about a year or so to write a book. He must have at least known at the time he was going to be writing the book, right? He may not have started it yet, but he knew a year out he was going to be writing this book.
Oh, he probably got this deal 3 years ago.
Yeah, he probably got the deal after the first one, after the We've Got People. So he's probably known about this book for a couple of years. And that could have been something he may have wanted to disclose while he was debating Shama about the squad. Hey, just so you know, full disclosure, I'm writing a puff piece about them in the form of a 336 hardcover book that's going to be available for Christmas next year. But no, didn't reveal that. And, look, the timing, I mean, the way that their reputation has just fallen at such a rapid pace over the past year. I mean, it is funny timing. Right.
Well, that's why that's why they decided. If I'm right about this, it would show that his publishers and marketing people are astute about what's going on in left politics beyond what you might anticipate, because it almost looks like they decided, yeah, our audience for this at this point are the people who buy the Michelle Obama biography.
Right.
That's all right. We're not getting the leftists anymore. They've turned on these people. Which, look, when was the last time you saw one of your lib friends complain about AOC? That tells you all you need to know. I actually had one of the biggest fucking libs that still tortures themselves by being in my social media ecosystem come out of the woodwork to contradict my sunscreen coverage.
Oh, yeah.
And this was someone who hated AOC back then, because AOC, if you remember, AOC was a rebuke to all the people who called us sexist for not supporting Hillary Clinton.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, if we're so sexist, why are we all getting behind a woman? Right? If we hate women so much, look at who all of our new leaders are. They're all people of color and women, usually women, people of color. It was never about that. Right. So to have these kinds of people now love AOC, and they do. When I talk to the libs, used to
of course,
fucking
she's a big hit now.
She's a big hit. So are all of them. Now that Ilhan got her frontal lobotomy, or has been replaced by a Stepford Wives-esque android. Rashida's got her mind right. They love them, right? Because it makes them feel validated. Hey, the progressives are with us. They're on board. They're the next generation. You say that whole central myth of Democrats that we're moving towards this utopian progressive future, but it's incrementalism that's going to get us there. And now they understand that, and they're with us.
Right.
They love that shit. They love that.
And they get better treatment now on MSNBC than even a lot of the moderates. The moderates used to get good treatments, up to and during and after the 2020 campaign. But, now that you're starting to see Kristen Sinema, Dem Exit, to the right, and then Joe Manchin chirp about a no labels run, you actually see like these hosts like Joe Scarborough praise the squad for the discipline they showed. The progressives have shown such incredible discipline, meaning they have fallen in line, whereas now the right flank of the party, the Manchins and the Sinema, they're causing problems, right? So now they're on MSNBC's shit list, and the squad get great treatment. Well, you have not seen a hostile interview with any of them in years. It's been years.
No, what was it? Jen Psaki did that foot rub with AOC.
Yeah, exactly.
And I thought that was really a nail in the coffin. I mean, not the first, but the latest. If you thought in any way that AOC was going to live up to her progressive promises, the fact that she's getting that kind of treatment from Psaki, of all people, tells you she is no longer any threat to anyone in power. Or to the establishment she claimed she was going to challenge. But it fits their narrative. It makes their myth complete. They love this. There's nothing they like better than a convert. So exactly. It's the way the emperors used to love to parade the German captains of the legions, right? Since I'm going to Rome, might as well throw in that reference, right?
Well, you're going to Rome, but we also have a dispatch from France, I believe, right, that we want to get to from a family member of yours?
Yes, actually, y'all don't know this. You do know that my great-grandfather, Menachem, actually invented hip-hop, something that we're still suing Mick Jagger for because he borrowed his lyrics for Shattered. And so far we haven't gotten anywhere, but we're trying. Okay, so, they had this whole Inquisition deal in Europe. And, the Jews that wanted to stay Jewish had to get out of these Catholic countries. They went to Holland. My people went to Holland. But there was a branch of the family that did convert. So I do have cousins there. Some of them actually wound up marrying into royalty. So my cousin, the Marquis Dudabler, asked to start doing some stuff on the show. He feels we're a little too hard on some of the columnists, on some of the articles. So he felt that he could better interpret some of these kind of, more upper class perspectives. So he sent us over a video, and we're going to check that out.
Yeah, we're going to check this out. Let's just give a tiny bit of background on the piece that he's interpreting for us. This is a case for legacy admissions, printed originally in the Wall Street Journal. All right.
Yeah, and we want to be. That's why our motto is fair and balanced. Look, right. So some professor decided he felt so strongly about defending the prerogatives of legacy admissions that he wrote an entire op-ed about it. So the least we could do is give that a fair hearing.
All right, so let's go to our correspondent, Marquis Dudabler.
Over the years, I've met quite a few undergraduates who qualify as legacies. They may not have as much fire in the belly as first-generation Harvardians, but they have always had plenty of power under the hood. What the legacies I've met all had in common, without exception, was an absolute, ferocious loyalty to Harvard. When talk around my seminar table would turn to Harvard, and the criticism grew harsh, the legacies would go quiet and look uncomfortable, or even try to speak a word in mitigation of the administration's latest outrage. This came, I think, from a sense of noblesse oblige. If an institution has shown you special favor, the only decent response is loyalty. If your family has supported an institution, you want it to be above reproach. The left must have a cause, as a dog must have fleas. And now that the court has forced the university to acknowledge that admissions are in fact a zero-sum game, preferences for some mean discrimination against others, legacies are the new cause du jour. If we are to continue to have private higher education, endowment funds have to come from somewhere. The question is where? Foreign donors and corporations, some of them silent partners of foreign governments, or wealthy alumni who know and love the institution and want to show their loyalty. Institutional trust requires institutional continuity, the kind that comes from family traditions. Change and innovation will always be necessary, but the most successful reforms are built on a basis of trust and loyalty.
And what happened at the end there? I hope he's all right. Hope they didn't come for him.
No, actually, it's just that's a little kinky role play they like to do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's got a whole area set up for that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you asked for it, folks. You asked for the fop voice, and so Russell went further than just the fop voice and actually created a wardrobe and a background there. So you guys asked, and Russell delivered. Indeed, Marquis Dudombular.
Yes, as somebody observed, you can take the boy out of theater.
Can't take the theater out of the boy. That's right.
That's it. So the marquee will appear from time to time.
From time to time.
When we find an article that's particularly suited to his talents.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, folks, let's take some more super chats here. But as we do that, we, of course, want to shout out our patron community. You can, of course, go to patreon.com/DoDissidents and become a supporter of this program. You can sign up for as little as $5 a month. Supporters get their name up in lights here in the patron scroll. We now have enough patron supporters and enough Substack subscribers that we're actually going to have to update our supporter scroll, our supporter graphic, because it's getting too long to do all these scrolls. But that's a good problem to have. We thank you very much for giving us that problem. You can support us for as little as $5 a month at patreon.com/DoDissidents or DoDissidents.substack.com. You get call-in access to all of our regularly scheduled live streams, as well as, like we said, a shout-out on the show. And the biggest perk, the nicest perk, is you get access to 2 bonus episodes per month, which are done exclusively for Patreon members and paid Substack subscribers. Those take place over on Rumble. We email you a link in the morning, and we are live at 8 o'clock at night. We do 2 of those per month. We just did our last one on the last day of August. That was a lot of fun. Both patron shows came out really, really good this month, so we think that's a really great perk that you get when you sign up. They're a lot of fun. You get to come and hang out. It's interactive. They're uncensored because we're on Rumble, so we can cover a lot of the topics that we can't cover on the main show. And so if you can help us out, it really, really is what keeps the show going. Our patrons and our Substack supporters are, as we say every time, the backbone of the show. And super chats are super helpful as well, so let's read some of those. Ideator, thanks for the $5. Breaking Points has become unwatchable. Sagar is going to have to go it alone to save face. Too much cringe too often has revealed Crystal Ball to be a fraud. I do get the sense that Sagar is a little uncomfortable sitting through some of those monologues, especially the last one, where he had a really good take on the Bernie Cornell thing, and then he had to sit through Crystal's thing about, well, if you were for real, you'd be backing Marianne. Yeah.
I'm very curious because this came up when we covered them. Does he work for her? Are they partners? They talk like they're partners. So why doesn't he tell her to shut the fuck up?
Well,
like, hey man, I'm a partner, man. Enough with the Marianne shit. It's making us look silly.
Well, you can't say that on the air. You mean off the air? You mean in between?
I mean off the
Have
air.
a little
Why doesn't he
production
tell
meeting,
her?
right?
Like,
Exactly.
stop it, fucking dude. Throw the bones and read the tarot on your own fucking time.
Right. Exactly. Mario Lorenzo, I like that name, for $2. Cedric Richmond, U.S. Representative of Cancer Alley. Okay, that was the congressperson's name.
That's
Okay.
it.
Thank you. Our chat is always on top of it. Always on top of it. Courtney Conover, thank you for the $3 super sticker, Courtney. Appreciate that. DC says there is no Twitter. There is only Zool. I like the Ghostbusters reference there, DC. Thank you very much for that. Let me just switch here to put our Substack link up as well. Give that Substack some love, folks. Even if you can't sign up as a paid subscriber, sign up for free. It helps you stay in touch with us. There are going to be some shows where we do exclusively on Rumble, Rockfin. Most of the shows are everywhere, but it really helps you stay in touch with us and keep up to date what we're doing. If you sign up to our Substack, you get audio podcasts of all the episodes, plus notifications day of when and where and how we will be going live. That is free. If you can support us for $5 a month on there, it's hugely helpful. But if you can't, it is still super important, regardless, to go on there and sign up for free.
That is how you censor-proof the operation and guarantee that we can do our Jew coverage thing forever.
Exactly.
Forever.
Right.
Until Keaton is visiting me next to Rick James in Buffalo Graveyard.
Yeah, right, exactly. Dwayne Vogel, Grimjob has a book. I know what I'm spending my Hanukkah gelt on. Yeah, that's a lot of gelt, $28.99. That's expensive for a Hanukkah gift. Usually you get smaller gifts for Hanukkah.
All right, I've made a lot of predictions this year. This is a very easy one. That book is gonna go over like a fucking lead balloon, man. Did you see what happened with the AOC movie?
Oh yeah, it wasn't Tear Down the House. That was the first one. There was another one that came out.
Knock Down
the House was the first one, but then wasn't there another one that came out since then?
They actually put it in the movie theaters, and from what I remember, I don't want to swear to this. From what I remember, it did like $5,000 in box office or something.
Yeah, we covered that way back
something
when.
Absolutely absurd. So how do you think a book? Because look, in the end, the libs don't love up on the squad. Maybe someday, once they're atrocious enough. But the libs don't love up on them like they do some Michelle. They're not going to run out and buy a book about the squad like they'll buy an autobiography by Michelle.
Right. Yeah, exactly. No,
so
I believe
really
that's going to
buy
terrible numbers. Right, because his core audience are people who, like I said, half of them have already sort of turned on him, at least in that way. Right. Like I'll still read a piece of Ryan Grimm reporting if he breaks a story that's worth covering. Like, I'm not going to boycott the guy. But I'm certainly not going to read his fucking take on the squad. 336 pages worth. You know what I mean?
He did a couple of great articles about how a lot of these NGOs are being destroyed from within by the, seeking out of the oppressors in the organization. How it's paralyzed them and made it impossible for them to fulfill their missions. And, in the space he's in, it's a risky subject to cover. But apparently not as risky as taking on the squad after you've already written the book.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Chris Bishop, thanks for the $5. The Grimm book is perfect reading for my Democrat primary voter book club. Keaton, you should come. Where is it? I know you're a Newburgh guy, Chris. I don't know if you're still there, but yeah, let me know. That would be fun. Well, that'd be a fun party to crash, sounds like. Extra Bulla, thanks for the $5, my friend. Hey, Extra Bulla, maybe you should co-host a Friday morning. I know you're working now. I know you work days, but if you're free on a Friday morning, why don't you host with me one of these Fridays? Russell in Italy, make sure you go to the most authentically Italian restaurant there. Sabaro's, yes, find them in places called malls. You're welcome. Thanks for the recommendation. Pro tip from Extra Bulla. Hey, Russell, what date are you going to see the opera? Because maybe Bulla can fill in for you that night.
Okay, so this is the restaurant I really want to go to.
See how he did? I asked him a question.
I'm gonna answer.
What am I not here?
Now you know what it's like to date me. Ristorante. That's why I'm not married, my friend.
I asked him, "Hey, what's going on?"
That's why you have a stable home, and I'm like running around fucking Europe by myself. Ristorante Grate del Teatro di Pompeo, supposedly on the spot where Caesar was assassinated. You can enjoy your pasta and wine. So that one I really want to go to. That is the, let me think, 17th.
Yeah, the 17th. So yeah, Bull, if you want to host the 17th, it's yours. I mean, you can host Friday morning too, but I know now you work sometimes during the day. But yeah, let me know if you want to do that. That's yours if you want.
I'm going to La Traviata, so I won't get to like, my plan for those evening shows is like go to bed by 9. So I can, just wake up in the night, do it.
In the middle of the night, right. But if you're at the opera until midnight, then yeah. Plus you're going to come home drunk from the opera. Everyone gets wasted at the opera, right?
Do they?
No, I don't think. I'm joking.
I don't think so. Yeah. I don't think that's a thing. I was like, have I not heard about this? I don't know.
Everyone gets lit at La Tra. You just show up wasted. And when they ask what the hell's wrong with you, you say, well, my friend told me that this was the thing to do. Was to get drunk.
I mean, I'm sure you can get wine.
I'm sure you get wine everywhere. They probably have wine fountains over there, just like you have water fountains here. You get wine like water over there.
And what's amazing is they get the wine from the aqueducts that the Romans built.
Yeah, to get the wine. Well, wine. Yeah,
they just have Italian women at the top stamping on grapes in a bucket. And it just comes down.
It just flows down. Look, very generous Rumble rant from Ernest Dowson. Wow.
Oh, no. Now we use the other one.
Now we use the
now
cowbell.
We use the Courtney Conover Memorial
for
bell.
the generous donation. What are you saying wow in reference to? Thank you for that donation. But did we say something that was...
Maybe stunned by his own donation.
Yeah. Was it something we said? Did we say anything wow worthy tonight? I feel like tonight's been a pretty mundane show so far. We haven't gotten to the real heavy segments
to the meat of it yet.
We haven't gotten to the meat of it yet. I mean, but yeah, I mean, thank you for that donation, whatever it's for. We're glad we have impressed you to that point that you felt compelled to donate $50 over on Rumble. Thank you very much. Folks, hit that like button. Let's get some people in here, and hit that subscribe button here on YouTube. Hit that follow button over on Rumble. Very important. If you're here on YouTube, go to rumble.com/Due Dissidence at some point. Follow us over there. It makes a big difference. It's a big help. Obviously, keep watching where you are. We're not telling anybody to. This is not like a musical chair situation, but follow us both places. Can't hurt. Can't hurt at all. Virtuoso. Oops, sorry. Virtuoso. Libs who like AOC are like fair weather Metallica fans. Yeah, after the Black Album. Yeah, that's a good analogy. Good analogy. Although Metallica came out with some good ones, I felt like they had a couple of lousy ones after the Black Album, like Load and Reload, and then that Garage Inc. one was kind of lousy. But the other ones, like I know Saint Anger everybody hates. I actually think Saint Anger is kind of an underrated album. Not that it's good, but it's not as terrible as people think. There's some fun stuff on that one, even though the sound is very rough, which was by design, obviously. But then their last few, I think, have been pretty good. Their last few have not been bad. But yes, that sort of 90s era Metallica, I understand. Point taken. Thank you for
just going to say Virtuoso is full of surprises. I would not have look, man, I would not have pegged you as a Metallica fan.
As a Metallica guy?
Maybe it's because after we did that segment and we didn't know who Melly Mel was, he sent me the video.
Oh, okay. Maybe that explains it. Love Live Vercingetorix. What is that? What is that? Is that something I don't get? I don't understand that. But thank you for the donation.
I don't get that one either.
Appreciate it, though. Thank you,
Dave.
Yeah,
so Melly Mel was the one who sang, "Don't push me, 'cause I'm close to the edge." Do you not know that?
What's that?
You don't know that song?
No.
Really?
No.
Right.
I didn't recognize it from there.
That's like a rap classic.
Oh, okay. I didn't recognize it from there.
Which I'm not going to sing any more of because I'm going to get canceled.
Yeah, not going to get canceled.
If I'm going to get canceled, exactly. I want it to be for something that I can get behind. Me singing that song, I can't get behind that. I can't be like, Fuck them if they canceled me.
Yeah,
it was worth it.
Right.
That would be a terrible thing.
That's
to get
That's not a great hill to die on. JVB over on Rockfin, Count Dobular earned this $5. Want to see more of him? Well, thank you very much.
He's a marquee. He's a marquee.
Yes, a marquee, not a count. But thank you for that. If we could only figure out how to withdraw funds from Rockfin, that would be great. I don't know what the hell Rockfin is or how to work any of that, but if we figure it out someday, that would be nice. All right, folks.
Money's going to Russia.
Yeah, right. Who the hell knows? All right, folks. We will do some more super chats in a little while, but let's get into some of the heavier stuff.
Yeah,
some of the more fiery
before we
stuff.
move past it, yeah, that was Grandmaster Flash, but Melly Mel was the vocalist on the song.
Got it. Understood. Folks, we weren't planning on covering this tonight. We had our eye on this for the past day or so, but it seems to have really become a huge story over the course of the day. Some real bad stuff going on at Burning Man, all right? Burning Man death investigated as desert deluge strands thousands in Nevada. This is from the San Francisco Chronicle. A death was reported at Burning Man as rain and flooding forced the festival's 73,000 attendees to shelter in place over the weekend while traffic was closed for the remainder of the pop-up metropolis. The Pershing County Sheriff's Office in northern Nevada, this takes place about 100 miles north of Reno, said the death occurred, quote, during the rain event, a television station reported. It offered few details, including the person's identity or the apparent cause. The family has been notified and the death is under investigation, the sheriff's office said in a release late Sunday. Traffic in and out of the temporary city was closed Friday afternoon as rain muddied the desert sand. Event goers, known as burners, BURNERS, were discouraged from using bikes and were told to shelter in place and conserve water and food. Attendees are typically expected to be completely self-sufficient, at the event, including bringing all the water, food, and shelter they need for their entire stay. The festival remained at a standstill with the National Weather Service forecasting showers and a possible thunderstorm into Sunday night. With no estimated time of reopening, burners faced the prospect of missed flights and a failure to return rental cars after the festival's closure Monday. This is such a fucking stupid festival. I mean, it really is fucking the dumbest shit. I mean, only in America could people do this.
75,000 people in the middle of a floodplain. What could go wrong?
Yeah. No, they go out there, they get flights, rental cars, they spend tens of thousands of dollars each. Like, the amount of money that gets spent here is just unbelievable. The festival's organizers posted a survival guide online Saturday night, updating it regularly with details on public safety, travel power, and communications. Right? Yeah, no, they're very self-sufficient. This is about, really getting in tune with nature and becoming totally self-sufficient, living off the land. But you have Wi-Fi, of course, right? So they all bring the laptops and they're all logged in. Hey, check the website. We posted a survival guide there, right? The guide advised burners to continue to take shelter, look out for neighbors, avoid driving or bicycling on the playa, and cover shoes with socks if necessary to avoid mud building while walking around. It advised against walking long distances at night and informed burners that the buses would be available during daylight hours to shuttle them to Reno. Photos and videos posted to social media showed water collecting on the desert sand. Even walking was treacherous as thick, slimy mud clung to shoes and anything else it touched, the Reno Gazette-Journal reported. One burner described being stuck on a bus with 50 people for 16 hours after the entrance gate closed as soon as they arrived. This is a disgrace, he said on X, formerly known as Twitter. Oh, was the survivalist weekend a little too survivalist for you?
It was too survivally.
Exactly. They did bring us dinner yesterday. Oh, that's nice. And hopefully they will find a solution soon, he posted Saturday. Please don't walk, though. Thomas Wesley Pence, a popular DJ known as Diplo, described walking 5 muddy miles out of the festival with comedian Chris Rock before they caught a ride, posting a video online. There they are. There's Chris Rock there. And there were some other videos posted online from the festival. Russell put together a little cut of those, which we will watch right now, and then we'll get back to the rest of the news. So let's take a look at some more footage from Burning Man.
Burning Man!
Biggest party in the world, baby!
For
Now,
those
this
of
is
you
real.
who are
That was
unaware
not
of the
this is real.
situation at Burning Man, unprecedented rains have flooded the playa, preventing exit by up to 3 days, putting food, water, and fuel in short supply. So to everyone at Burning Man, may this be an invitation for the greater community to come together.
There's mud. You can't really walk or drive.
Yeah, the portos are flooded and overfull, and they cannot get the sewage trucks in here to evacuate them, so it is getting interesting, that's for sure.
Thank goodness we have a mod van, so we're safe inside of that. Yep. Sorry about the plug. I know we're not supposed to talk about commercial things, but yeah.
Hippies, all you!
So I like this one here. Burning Man reality, stuck in desert. I proved to myself that I can do everything. So what does that mean? What does that mean? Is this like the test that she put herself to? Like, I'm sorry, this is a cult. This is a cult. I mean, it's clearly a cult. They burn a giant man. This is like the Wicker Man movie.
They didn't get to do that though.
No, well, they didn't. They postponed it. They said they didn't cancel it. They had to reschedule the burning of the man, as if anybody's gonna fucking come back after this. I think you got to wait till next year.
There'll be 83 people there with dysentery to watch.
Yeah, exactly. The people who still can't get out in order to come back. But, I know there are organizations, white collar organizations, law firms and stuff that have these, not necessarily survivalist retreats, but they'll have, sort of death-defying retreats where they'll do something very dangerous and very demanding physically as a sort of team-building exercise. They'll take a trip to Fuji and they'll hike Mount Fuji when they're not equipped to do that, right? They'll do something ballsy and gutsy.
Corporate bonding.
Right, corporate bonding. And what that is an exercise to prove to themselves that they are actually worthy of the place in society that they have, right? Because really, in reality, they're just a bunch of dweebs sitting around on laptops, jerking off all day, getting rich off of other people's hard work. That's what most of these people do. These Burning Man people, they are the new tech bros. They are tech oligarchs. Wannabe Elons. A bunch of wannabe Elons go here. And that's what all the dreadlocks and all the hippie bullshit is all about. It's just all a way to disguise what absolute cold-blooded reptiles these people actually are, by putting on this ritual for themselves and their friends about how in touch with the world they are, how empathetic they are, how transcendent they can be when they get in touch with the world. They're none of that. These are a bunch of spoiled rich fucks who, for some fucking reason, want to go out in the middle of the desert every year and drop acid and burn this giant creature in effigy. I mean, it's so sick. It's so creepy. Like, I don't understand people. I don't understand people.
Well, when you look at, some of the clips that we just showed, it's really just demonstrates the pathological narcissism of our era. The idea that being out there, I mean, this one with the fucking fur coat and the dreadlocks. Yeah, I'm sure you're staying in some shitty little tent out there. You got a fucking decked out RV. And this language, it's
they have Wi-Fi. They're probably watching Hulu out there.
Just do it. Just do it. It's people, when you break that apart, when you take it apart, it's this very narcissistic ethos of personal empowerment that these people that's their religion, right? I mean, that's what you're describing.
Exactly.
This is their religious faith. It's this self-actualization faith, which again, these are ideas, Abrams, Maslow, like these were all ideas. That's why I pulled out that book that really gestated in this one particular area, San Francisco, Eastland, these areas in the 60s. And this is really the result of it. That's kind of what this experiment led to. They were experimenting with combining Eastern mysticism and Western culture. And what they came up with was to strip out all of the spirituality from the Eastern disciplines and just pick up on the, you control your reality part of it. Well, if you control your reality, then you can control whether you become rich. Right? That's what they turned it all into. Oh, well, show how powerful your mind is. And who's going to challenge them? Because if you've ever been around people like this, and I have, they only hang around with other people who are this fucking shallow. So, this girl saying I can survive anything, nobody's going to tell her you're a moron. People are going to say, oh my God, that is so amazing. I saw that video and I was like, I can't believe what she's going through.
Yeah, I can't believe what she's going through right now. She's so
strong.
It's just amazing. I just want to hug her right now.
Oh my God. Like, what can I do for her right now?
Exactly.
Like, who's going to tell them otherwise? Especially when you're rich like that. Like, nobody ever says shit to you. And anybody who does, you don't hang out with them again. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Now when Russell put this together, I thought that this image right here was like some sci-fi reference that I didn't get. Not this right here. This looks like an image from a sci-fi movie. It looks like an alien walking on the surface of the moon. But no, that's actually real footage apparently of someone walking through the mud at night.
I think what's going on here from watching the extended clip is if you see the track there, this person just kept walking around and around and around and
to
around.
create a path.
That's what that track is from.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, Burning Man at one time really was these hippies. So if you look at what it's become, at South by Southwest used to be a small affair.
Right. Yeah, of course.
It's the same way that gentrification works. When creative people and bohemians and artists establish something, you got these shallow rich people with no purpose or meaning in their lives who feel a need for validation. They go and they latch onto it and they buy their way into it with their money, and pretty soon they suffocate the thing that they got next to, because as soon as they get next to it, it kills it. Right. That's the Soho here in New York. If you want to see a great time capsule of what Soho was, After Hours by Martin Scorsese, it's all these galleries. So then the rich people see all these artists. It's a cool place to live. Now these lofts that David Byrne rented for $50 a month. He wrote a whole essay about that, explaining why he would never move to New York now. These lofts sell for $14 million now.
Right.
That's what happened to Burning Man. I mean, Burning Man, whatever you think about hippies or whatever, it wasn't this. It didn't start out this way. And it wasn't this for a very long time. But now, yeah, I mean, it's just been overrun by the Aspen Institute South by Southwest crowd.
Exactly. And guys like this, Neil Katyal, it was an incredibly harrowing 6-mile hike through heavy and slippery mud, but I got safely out of Burning Man. Never been before, and it was fantastic with brilliant art and fabulous music, except the ending. Yeah, except the ending where you almost drowned in your own shit and someone died. That's what I mean. These people have no soul. None whatsoever. Oh, it was an amazing, fantastic experience. The art, man, the music, man, was great. Yeah, someone died, and a lot of people are still trapped there. But, man, that was epic. Who is this guy, by the way? Look at Hassan Piker. Pointed this out. Work hard to successfully defend child slavery. Play hard in the mud at Burning Man. So Neil Katyal is the attorney asking the Supreme Court to let companies off the hook for child slavery. Katyal's legal theory on behalf of Nestle and the Cargill might be too extreme even for this ultra-conservative court. I mean, if that doesn't tell you who the core demo of Burning Man is, I don't know what will. Russell, you found these couple of tweets.
Yeah, that says it all. These people are, it's a whole network. Like, this is, we should really come up with a name for these people. The TED Talk pod people. I mean, it's the same people. Like, these are the people at TED Talk. These are the people at Aspen Institute. These are the people at South by Southwest. They're the worst people on earth, and they're looking to present themselves as representing some kind of a very secular vision of virtue and almost a kind of creepy utopian futurism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? Like,
yeah, that makes sense.
They've they've got one foot in the future, right? I mean, all these people, Elon, Jeff Bezos, it's all part of the same ecosystem. It's all part of the same mindset, and this is how they tell themselves that they're cool, by going out to the desert and watching some music, right?
Right, and to convince themselves that
I'm not just an evil lawyer. Look at my shirt,
to convince
for God's
themselves
sake.
that they're people, to get in touch with something that they can say, no, I'm a person. I'm not just a functionary of an evil state on a laptop, right? Or in a courtroom in this guy's case. The Barracks had a funny take on this. The reason Burning Man exists to allow the nation's most non-productive parasites in the upper class to role-play what life will be for them as feudal elites in a post-apocalyptic America. This is why they push so hard for degrowth at the same time as they push for nuclear holocaust with Russia. More on that in a moment. In order to live out their Mad Max lifestyle fantasies in real life permanently. The shelter-in-place order at Burning Man with 73,000 people stranded and hungry shows just how fragile, shows just how fragile these psychopathic dreams are, exactly, and how useless and useless and effeminate, the laptop class really is. They're nothing more than children playing in mud. This is how they want the entire country to live. Drawing some conclusions there that I might not buy into 100%, but generally the fact that yes, this is dress up. This is a bunch of soulless people pretending that they have some sort of spirituality about them, which they really don't.
That's what's okay. This is what's always been so maddening about these people to me. If you're in the arts, these people latch onto the arts like flies to shit.
Right.
And what I always felt with them was, hey, man, if you want to, donate money and shut the fuck up and just be a spectator, fine, we'll take your money. But the thing with these people is it's not good enough that they have all this wealth and privilege. They want to be cool, too.
Right.
They want to see themselves as artistic.
Exactly.
They want to see themselves as creative. No. You're fucking not. You're not. You can't buy that.
Right.
You could buy the affectation. You can never buy the substance of it. And that is what they're trying to do with things like Burning Man. They're trying to buy the substance of being a lot more creative and interesting than they're ever actually going to be.
Exactly. That's very, very well said. That's a very good observation, and it's 100% true. This was my favorite take. This has gone somewhat viral. This tweet for good reason. This is a great comic named Sam Morrill. Being trapped at Burning Man seems almost as bad as being trapped in a conversation with someone who went to Burning Man. Yeah, that's a good take. I love that take very much. That tweet's got to be over 1 million views by now.
That is the take of the day.
That's the take of the day. Winner of the internets, day of our Lord, September 3rd, 2023, Sam Morrill, no doubt. Okay, so here's an interesting other angle about this. So before the flood happened and the shit started floating and all the shit water started making people sick, I wanted to cover Burning Man from this perspective. So here's a series of tweets from Michael Tracy. Again, showing how this is all fake. All these people are fucking fake as hell. Naturally, these pro-Ukraine displays at Burning Man were a straight-up state-run PR operation. The head of the charity that organized it is a deputy defense minister of Ukraine. The charity, quote-unquote, specializes in funneling grenade launchers, mortars, drones, etc. into the war zone. So if you look on the left side of the image there, they did a burning ritual at this Burning Man. It wasn't the man at the end, but they did another burning ritual where there was a phoenix that was a tribute to the, spirit, the fighting spirit of Ukraine. Again, these are just libs who, as Russell said, want to spend a lot of money to convince themselves and others that they're more interesting and countercultural than they actually are. So not only did they pay tribute to Ukraine, but as Michael Tracy reports here, the head of the charity that organized that, Deputy Defense Minister of Ukraine, the charity specializes in funneling grenade launchers, mortars, drones into the war zone. He goes on, CNN covered the Burning Man Ukraine collab and, of course, neglected to mention it was an operation of the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense. In furtherance of U.S. foreign policy objectives, instead they make it seem like just a plucky little grassroots art project. Cool, hashtag journalism. So you can see the part that he highlights here. This one, titled Phoenix, was the work of 14 artists and fabricators in both Ukraine's capital, Kiev, and Chicago. In the moments before Thursday's burn, audio of explosions and air raid sirens rang out around the installation while an opera singer arrived. Sorry, this is very, very small font. While an opera singer arrived unplanned to perform a song in Ukrainian. He goes on, oh God, this is really small. Then he tweets at the people who wrote this article, do you not think it's journalistically relevant that this Burning Man display was an overt PR initiative of the Ukraine government and thus part of an intense lobbying effort to influence U.S. policy? Yeah, that's kind of interference, is it not? Or did that honestly just never occur to you? The local Reno newspaper managed to do the bare minimum of noting all this lovely artwork is the PR initiative of a foreign state, but it is only but it's only mentioned in passing, like a forgettably minor detail. Far more emphasis is placed on the inspirational, symbolic meaning of the Phoenix. So, yeah, I mean, once again, this just goes to show you what this festival is. Obviously, I don't wish anyone a harm, so it's sad that someone died, and I hope everybody else gets out okay. But the fact that you got people posting videos laughing about, oh, I made it out, and then oh, yeah, it was a great time. It just kind of sucked that, like, there's still tens of thousands of people stranded there with limited food, water. There's obviously some kind of illness going around that's making people sick. I don't want to, speculate as to what that could be. It's not our place to do that. It's also not a mystery that there would be an illness going around, given the fact that the porta potties are overflowing. You got people low on water, right? You got people probably low on food by this
Of course,
point.
people are sick.
Of course, people are getting sick.
Right. There's no mystery about it. You've got a shit-soaked mud plain.
Exactly.
Oh, people are getting sick. I mean, anybody ever heard of trench foot and World War I? They're fucking walking around in ankle-deep mud. Of course, people are getting sick. One thing I did see a report on is some of what might be happening, because some people are reporting rashes, is there is a specific illness in that dry riverbed that you get from exposure to the alkali sand being blown up, which with the mixture of water getting on people's skin, that could be part of why they're breaking out. But it's certainly not like a lethal, life-threatening. It's not flesh-eating. It's not anything like that. They're going to, it's going to be very uncomfortable for people who have it until they get it treated. So, yeah, I think it depends. This is going to be very interesting to see how far they go to rescue these people. Do they go much further than they did to rescue the people of Hawaii? I think that's the question everyone's asking right now. Are they going to organize a military operation to evacuate them because these are not the peons there at Burning Man?
Right. They've declared this a national emergency now. Yeah.
Right. And from what they're saying, it's going to rain again tonight. So without that kind of intervention, you're not going to be able to get these people out of there until the middle of the week. Right. So by that time, people are going to run out of water. They're going to run out of food. It's going to go very fucking Lord of the Flies over there because these people, in spite of their affectations, are not the most community-minded psychopaths in the country. So what are they going to start doing?
There's only so much you can do under those circumstances.
Right. I saw somebody quoted this, the dividing line between humanity and anarchy is 9 meals.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we will see. I mean, obviously, look, we hope everyone makes it out, but I mean, this is what I mean. You do these feats of survivalism, these cult-like gatherings in the middle of nowhere. I mean, shit is dangerous. Shit is. I mean, that's not a safe thing to do. I'm sorry. This is why I don't go anywhere. Once again, another argument for not going anywhere.
Listen, man, I don't know that that's the moral of the story. There are certain things I wouldn't do, but like you don't even want to go out of state.
Yeah, right.
I know exactly. You don't even want to go out of state.
Out of state? I walked to the mailbox today. That's enough.
Exactly. I mean, I mean, India, you know, it was funny because a lot of people are scared to go to India. That's not just you. And I gotta say, man, I did not find that valid at all when I went there.
I'm not particularly afraid to go to India. I'm just saying, to me,
I mean,
the
a
whole
lot of
thing is an
people,
ordeal.
when they think of India, it's such a, you know, an exotic idea. And hey, man, I heard things. I told a friend years ago, I was like, yeah, I'd like to see India. He was like, yeah, my father almost died when he went traveling in India. You hear shit like that. But you know, I have a limit. Like when I go climb Everest, no.
Right.
I don't need to lose any toes. Fuck that.
Yeah,
shit.
no, that's
like it's too much.
You'd be lucky to get out of that with just a lost toe.
It's too much risk for the payoff for me. Like that's really what it comes down to. What's the risk reward on this?
Yeah, no, this, I mean, yeah, like I said, this kind of stuff just really seems like just way too much, and there's an obnoxiousness about it, right? There's a decadence about it.
Honestly, sick. It's degenerate and sick.
Honestly,
what I think about Burning Man.
The reason nowadays I would avoid something like this, I probably would have gone when it was cool. I never got around to it. Like 20 years ago, would I have gone? Sure. I probably would have enjoyed it.
Okay,
before it became this. The reason I would not go to something like this today, everything else aside about the kind of fucking creeps who are there now, I don't trust society enough anymore to organize things like this safely. That is why I would not go. Like, I might go stay in a desert with a couple of friends.
But you slept in the desert in India. You watched the show from the desert.
Sure, with like 10
Wi-Fi
people.
out there, yeah.
10 people, sure. But would I go to some kind of big event being organized by people that I have to, by definition, trust with my safety?
Right.
Because there are 75,000 people there.
Right.
And I'm dependent on them having worked all that out. Nah, man, I told you that's a segment I've wanted to do for a while about how you can no longer trust institutions like Boeing. You can't trust medical device manufacturers. So you can't trust festival organizers to handle something like this in a way that you're going to be safe. I feel safer on my own than to go to something where there are 75,000 people there and my safety is in the hands of some fucking Wall Street company that puts this together.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I first heard of Burning Man, I think it was about 20 years ago when I first heard of it. And, you know, I was biased against it from the start because we met some guy in the city, you know, white collar, kind of dweeby, square guy. He was a friend of like the son of my mother's friend or something like that. Or maybe he was, you know, some distant relative of a distant relative, something like that. You know, how every once in a while you get put in touch with these people who you really don't have anything in common with and don't really care to get to know. But, you know, sometimes you just get put in touch. And so, yeah, just this like kind of pasty ass, like just white collar guy, a white shirt and blue tie, worked in Midtown. He worked at a publishing house, I think. And, you know, just kind of this like very reserved guy. But my mom says he's actually a really cool guy. You know, he goes to Burning Man. I said, what's Burning Man? I was like a teenager. I don't know what the hell this was. And then she explained to me what it was. I'm like, if this guy's going, it's not cool.
It's not cool.
If this guy's going, like I had this festival's number from that moment forward because I knew what it was. Okay, he's a boring guy with a boring life who wants to convince himself and his friends that he's more interesting than he is. And what does he have to do to, you know, sort of convince himself of that? Spend enough money to convince himself of that, right? Everything's for sale, and that's what you said earlier.
I mean, I will say, by the time it got on my radar, the people I knew who went to Burning Man were like crazy actresses from pretty privileged families who went there to run around naked and get laid for a week.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those are the people I knew.
This was what, 90s, mid 90s.
2000. So
2000s.
by then it's
It's
already shit.
Right.
You know?
That's what I mean. That's when I found out about it. 2000s. I was what was I? 16, 17, early 2000s. That's about.
Yeah, it would have been like around 2010-ish.
Okay.
I knew people who were going to it. But, so by then I get the impression.
Oh yeah, by then
it was already over.
Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's take some super chats here. Got a couple more things to get to before the night is over, folks. Garble, thanks for the $5. Hosnem's ever yell, "Don't you ever disrespect me," looking like at one of you on the street? If he did, what did you look like? What? I don't understand that question. Do you understand that?
Get your hand out of my socket!
Do you understand that question?
I don't even.
Has anyone ever yelled, "Don't you ever disrespect me," looking like a what you on the street? All right, I'm not sure, but thank you. Got some bizarre questions coming up. Are you guys at Burning Man? Is that what's going on? Are you guys watching from Burning Man?
We're getting trolled.
Is the
from
audience
Burning
in
Man.
Burning Man now? Is that why we're getting some weird questions?
They broke out of prison and went.
They're
to
starting to
Burning Man.
hallucinate out there, right? Starting to see visions. DC, thanks for the $5. Ironic that Russell is visiting Rome on the anniversary of the fall of the Western Roman Empire, 94476. Oh,
dude,
okay.
your guy. I mean, I knew it was 476. Is it really
September
4th? Really? I mean, I'm actually going on September 5th technically, but still, that's interesting. That's true. I'm gonna look that up now.
Well done. Impressive. Very impressive. All right. Let's see here. Courtney Conover says, "Wait, you don't have to name the cowbell for me. Thanks, LOL. Yeah, well, we should name it after you. You're the one who bought it, and it was a very thoughtful gift. So thank you, Courtney." Brambinski.
I don't know about that, my friend.
What?
Do they know the literal date? Because I'm not seeing that. All right, go on. I'm gonna see what I can find here.
Brambinski, $4.99. I never read A Course in Miracles, so I can't trash it or its effect on Marianne. I did like The Power of Now, which referenced A Course in Miracles. Interesting. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. And thanks for the donation. Eric Rousseau, remember Malcolm in the Middle going to Burning Man episode? They were the art piece. And no, I didn't watch much of that show, actually. I know that was big right around the time I was getting. Yeah, it was good. I just didn't watch much of it. But I did like what I saw. That was a big show when I was younger. All right, folks, we'll get to some more super chats.
Yeah, kinky based on my in-depth research over the last 30 seconds. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Nobody actually pegs a date.
Rome
just
wasn't
like,
built in a day, and Rome was not destroyed in a day.
Yeah, because I don't think there was any official surrender. They just got sacked and, fell back on the Byzantine Eastern Empire.
All right, let's have some fun, folks. Let's watch a little Breaking Point. So, for some reason, Breaking Point's decided to host a Gen Z TikTok influencer debate between Harry Sisson, the Biden bro, the young kid who's making all these TikTok videos for Joe Biden's reelection campaign, and a guy named Link Lauren, who has, I guess, some more conservative, moderate TikToker. So they had them on to debate several different topics, including Biden's response to Maui. So here is a piece of this conversation. We will stop and start this as we go. One thing I do want to mention, though, is that Link Lauren never really explicitly says that he intends to vote for Donald Trump. He says he's waiting to see who the nominee is. I get the sense that he's probably waiting to see if a libertarian candidate that he likes throws his hat in the ring. So he's not as rank a partisan as Harry Sisson is, and he mentions that from time to time throughout this. But I did want to set that up so you know that going in. It's not like a Trumper versus a Biden person. Right.
No, and he makes that clear. I'm good. Like, he corrects her right from the beginning. Like, hey, I might have been, he says that a couple times. I might have been mismatched for because it seems like they wanted a Trump guy versus a Biden guy. Right. And they got the wrong guy. Right. That's not really what the other guy is. I don't know how they would make that mistake, because you could very easily find a Trump counterpart for Sisson. I'm just going to say, if you don't want to have like the blood vessel pumping in your temple in just rage and hatred, you might not want to watch this segment, because Jesus, man, that fucking Sisson is like they made him in a test tube to be like the most disgusting, puke-inducing Democrat partisan you could imagine. And the fact, normally, like, a lot of people, we did that Disney thing with the Snow White, and I kind of went easy on Ziegler, who's getting, lots and lots of shit, partly because of her age. Normally I would go easy on someone because of their age. This kid is a fucking prick. Now that I know he's in college and he's not in high school, I feel a little more comfortable. Like,
they wouldn't hire a 16-year-old to do it. No, he's
I thought he was in high school.
Yeah, no,
I thought he was in high school.
Yeah.
What a okay, because this is amazing that at that age you would be this fucking soulless. I mean, because he has the mentality, you can see it here, of just a consultant. Like, he already thinks like a consultant. Like,
yeah, well, he's wired into the system now, man. He's in that pipeline, man.
Well, that's the thing, though. Like, it would be bad if you just had a kid this clueless, but you could forgive that. No, that's not what it is. He's working.
He's working.
He's doing
of course,
He's doing a job.
He's doing a job.
He's getting paid to spout talking points for the Democrats. I didn't get the impression after watching this that he believes this shit. He's very polished. I didn't get the impression that whether or not he believes it ever came into consideration for him.
Right.
I got the impression it's a gig.
Right, it's a gig.
And
He's
he's
an
not even
actor.
He's not even really thinking about that.
Well, this is what Saul says. Yeah, he's an actor with marketing parents. Yes, he's signed up with a talent agency. They recruited him, and this is the gig. All right, so here it is. Here's Harry Sisson versus Link Lauren on Breaking Points.
Biggest issue for me with Biden is the censorship on social media. I mean, going back to court to try and overturn the lower court's
look how irritated. Oh, lame. Oh, censorship on social media. But they don't get into this much. He goes to Maui.
I mean, he is really. I mean, that's part of what's so disconcerting about it. He's a professional, man. Like, he has his talking points memorized. He's ready to counter every point with a bunch of stock responses. I mean, he's as polished as any political consultant I've ever seen on cable news.
Yeah, no, he is.
Ruling to censor social media content and steer the narrative, that's just never going to sit well with me. I think his calamitous trip to Maui last week really solidified it for me. I mean, you go to Maui and give a speech about almost losing your Corvette in a small kitchen fire and making glib jokes and comments when people have lost everything. They've been torched to the ground. They can't find their families. They can't find their kids. He's cracking jokes. Then he hops on a plane to go back to his $18 million mansion in Lake Tahoe and take Pilates classes and walk around a parking lot with a smile.
See, look at the smile. Look at the look on his face like, oh, this is so ridiculous. By the way, he's 20 years old. I just looked that up. So, I mean, he is technically an adult, but, he is what we would call a kid, and he's got a lot of learning to do. If he ever grows up into a person of any sort of conscience, he's going to be pretty ashamed of these video clips there.
Which
look at how lame
I'll
he thinks all that is.
I will concede that can happen, especially at this age. But I personally believe it's more likely that, like the clip we saw of Buttigieg when he was around that age, he was the same little prick then that he is now. I think that's more likely.
Well, because the system picks pricks and the system really elevates pricks, especially the Democratic Party. Right? Like they'll take a guy like this and they see a lot of potential there, right? They see a real future there. Now this guy,
the CIA's got him on speed dial already.
Exactly. Yeah. People are asking if Link is a Trump voter. No, he's not, although he certainly looks the part. Certainly has the hair down. So let's take a look.
I want a transformational new leader in this country to sit in the Oval Office and really enact change. People need to see strength and see a real leader. And Joe.
Okay, so he says he wants a transformational new leader. So right there, he's saying he's not necessarily on board with Trump. In fact, he really seems like he's not on board with Trump. He seems like he's very reluctant to vote for Trump. He seems like he wants another Republican candidate
he wants another option.
Right. Or, he will explore a libertarian option or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and Crystal keeps dismissing that premise. Like you supposedly want his opinion, but she keeps. But hang on, Donald Trump is 50 points ahead. So what are we really talking about?
Yeah,
This
no,
whole-
she really.
This, yeah, like the face she got there, that's basically her this whole interview. But let's get real. It's going to be Trump and Biden.
Yeah, and Sagar's face looks like, did we book the wrong guest here? Did we thought we were going to have a debate, and turns out this guy's not going to back Trump?
In the Oval Office.
The look on his face is, I've been watching Rising, and I'm wondering if I backed the right horse here.
Yeah, right. Exactly, yeah.
People need to see strength and see a real leader, and Joe Biden isn't giving me that. It's not giving young people that.
But Link, it's not just about what you're against. It's also got to be what you're for.
Okay, remember, Sagar finally did that because he was doing that through this whole interview.
Yeah, the whole time. He's like asking to talk, and Sagar's like, all right, yeah, sit down. Relax.
That's why Sagar finally said something, because it was becoming so distracting.
Right.
Be what you're for. Very likely the Republican nominee is going to be Donald Trump. Trump also censored on social media. You can see that. You can see that. You can go and read the Twitter files, and you'll see his administration.
No, that's a ridiculous comparison. That's an absolutely ridiculous comparison. Because whatever Trump was trying to do on Twitter during the campaign, which came out in the first Twitter files, which he references there, did not have the blessing of 50 security agents, present and former. Right, so that is apples and oranges. That is unfair to say that Trump was as censorious on social media as this new regime has been. I mean, that's just not a fair thing to say. But again, she starts here by laying the groundwork for saying, well, despite all these criticisms of Biden, it's going to be Trump on the other side, right? She's doing the same thing to him that she's really doing to the Cornel West people. It's like, well, yeah, but all these criticisms aside, it's going to be Trump. So who couldn't vote for Biden, right?
Doing a lot of the same.
Well, and that's also why, especially in this space, you can't be pro censorship, right? So she has to make a false equivalence,
right? Exactly.
Well, Trump's not any better on that, so you can't tell me that. In the end, you're better off with Trump because he's just as censorious. No, he's not.
And first of all, no, he's not. And second of all, this kid is actually presenting a fairly honest case, which is he's not open to voting for Biden. And outside that, he doesn't really know who he'll vote for or if he'll vote at all. Like, he's just kind of making an honest argument. And Crystal and Harry can't help but try and paint him into a corner of backing Trump, because then they can pull on him what they pull on everybody, right? So let's keep.
There are only two choices: the red and the blue. Which one?
Exactly.
You can see that. You can go and read the Twitter files, and you'll see his administration doing a lot of the same stuff that the Biden administration was doing. In fact, the Hunter Biden laptop thing happened while Trump was still president. So let's keep that in mind. That's number.
Okay, we've said this a million times. We don't have to belabor this. Absurd point. The Hunter Biden laptop happened while Trump was still president. Again, 50 active and former intelligent officers wrote a letter saying this looks like a Russian op. Okay, that's what we mean when we talk about government censorship. We're not talking about Trump being president. It has nothing to do with it. That is a red herring. That's what you call a red herring, folks.
Yeah, that's another thing. She's eliding the fact that these people were acting against his interests.
Right.
That they were acting outside of his purview, not at his direction.
Yeah, Trump ordered the censoring of the Biden laptop story. Yeah, sure.
Exactly.
Right. That's like she's actually trying to make that point, because that's what follows from that point.
Right. Well, this is what's so sad about what she has fucking turned into. I mean, she's just a parody at this point. Like you should have just stayed on MSNBC if this is what you were going to do. I'm sure they pay better.
Yeah, indeed.
For one. Number two, in terms of hurricane response, he was, very late in terms of his response to Hurricane Maria.
He took 13 days. He showed up for 2 hours.
Go back and look how Donald Trump did.
No.
Who gives a fuck what Donald Trump did? First of all, this poor kid is not even supporting Donald Trump, and then she tries to give the "what about Trump" answer.
Right.
So that's just a chicken shit.
Like
thing
take no for an answer.
Right. Take no for
an answer.
How many
fucking times does he have to tell you he's not backing Trump?
Right, exactly. He came on here calling himself a moderate. He didn't even call himself a right-winger. Right. So I'm calling myself a moderate, right? So he's not even interested in Trump.
I think they fucked up. I don't think they realized what his politics were. Right. I think they got one look at the hair. They figured they got their man.
Well, he does look like, I mean, look, optically, just in terms of presentation, I'm sure this kid has a big TikTok following, so who am I to tell him what to do? But he does kind of present as the Harry Potter villainous kid. What's the kid's name? Like
Slytherin.
the
Draco Malfoy.
Right, from the rival wizard gang or whatever the fuck it is. He looks like that. This kind of looks like Harry Potter versus
and that is
kid.
why we call him
Sisson looks
Keaton
like
Weiss,
Harry Potter.
Master of pop culture.
Master of pop culture, exactly. But also the point, Trump took a lot of time to get to Hurricane Maria. So listen, it's not just a matter of response time either. I won't get into that yet because they'll talk about this.
Link,
and then he was back in the Pilates studio.
My question to you directly, and then I'll get Harry in. My question to you directly is...
See, once again, you really are going to not look back on these days very fondly if you evolve into a person of any quality at all to be laughing hysterically at the criticism that Biden was, on vacation while Maui was burning. Again, it's not the amount of time it takes the president to go there necessarily, although they should go there as soon as possible, which we'll get to in a moment. It's what is the response? I said this about Clinton and Obama. For all of their faults, and there were countless, we devote much of this show to talking about them. They were workhorses. You would not catch Bill Clinton or Barack Obama on vacation after this Maui thing happened. You wouldn't.
No.
They would not rest until they had some kind of response organized. That's not a testament to their character. It's a testament to their work ethic. They were workhorses. They were grinders. And Trump was not, and clearly Biden is not, right? But while you're trying to stick him with this Trump comparison, again, it's just dishonest. This whole exchange started about 13 minutes into the segment, at which point this Link kid probably articulated 3 or 4 times that he was not, backing Trump.
Right.
Is Trump better than Biden? Would you, if that's your choice, Trump v. Biden, or would you vote third party?
Again, what a fucking weasel. What a fucking weasel that you feel like you have to back him into this corner because you have no other argument. The kid's already said he's not a Trump person, and you're going, okay, but if it were Trump or Biden, that's not what he's there to argue. He's not there to argue that. I wouldn't be there to argue that either, right? I mean, at the moment, I have every plan in the world to vote for Cornel West. Pardon me. If Cornel West weren't in the race and I didn't know who I was backing, I'd be making a very similar argument to this kid. I'm like, well, I'm certainly not going to back Biden. I don't know what to do. I'm not telling you who to vote for. I don't have an answer to that. But here's why I could not in good conscience vote for Joe Biden. And she would come back with me, well, but hold on. I have to nail you down on this. Trump or Biden. Fuck you. I'm not here to support Donald Trump. So, I mean, it's just such a chicken shit thing to do. And she knows that. She's got a lot of experience in this field. She knows what constitutes a good interview, right? And what is a hit job.
I think they did not properly vet him. They thought they were going to have a Trump person and a Biden person. So she's not giving it. I mean, that's where they're putting on a show. They wanted that. And she's just trying to force that onto a guy who wants no part of that.
Right.
Would be your choice in that situation, and why?
For sure. So the thing about American politics is you never know who's going to emerge. I mean, look at how many candidates were on the stage last week, right? So I'm going to keep my options open and see who I feel in November of 2024.
But let's be real. This is what it's likely coming down to.
Who cares? Okay. Who cares? That is not what he's arguing. It's not what he's arguing. You could say, well, look, let's get real. It's likely to be Trump or Biden. That's irrelevant. It's irrelevant to what he's saying. Again, whether it's her or Kyle or, most of the people in that sort of, progressive Democrat space, they are just, this is why we call ourselves post-duopoly, because in their mind, they cannot escape the binary choice between if you are not for Biden, it must mean you're for Trump. So if you can't prove Trump is better, then you have to revert to Biden. They cannot just have a conversation. You can't have a 20-minute conversation with someone about an issue as dire as Maui and not fall back on, well, Trump took 13 days to go to Puerto Rico and he threw paper towels at them. So really, I mean, who's better? Who's worse? I mean, it's just so juvenile.
Yeah. Let's play it through to the end.
Okay.
person. Let's
Trump
get real, Crystal.
is like 50% ahead of everybody else. You know, Nikki Haley gained like 3 points after this debate. It's not enough to overcome.
But
him.
if you guys have a nail in the coffin, but Crystal, if you have a nail in the coffin with the trial, then isn't it sealed up?
I'm just trying to figure out, where do you actually stand? Like, do you actually think Trump is better than Biden? If that's your choice, are you a Trump guy, or are you on the fence? Are you looking at a third-party candidate?
We also never said anything about nails in the coffin.
Yeah,
just to be clear.
Yeah, no, we've never said that. Definitely. So anyway, where do you stand?
I mean, I didn't think they said anything violative there. What was he worried about? What, getting censored or canceled or anything? It was clearly a figure of speech.
It's your choice.
What's that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Sagar is. This is why I say, you know, at this point, whatever you think about it, you know, some people, when I've said this, like, oh, Sagar's this, Sagar's that. You know, man, I never watched Sagar solo. What, he's got that show with Marshall. I never watched that. I don't find him that fucking interesting. But compared to her, yeah, I like him better. I stand by that. I like him better than her.
Yeah, he seems interested in having a conversation, whereas you know, with Crystal now, I mean, it's just, I mean, she is just a partisan Democrat at this point.
Right. Like this whole interview, it's like moderately less antagonistic than you would get from Rachel Maddow. Moderate, like a little bit, a little bit, not that much. No. Like Maddow would probably handle this interview in a similar way. Yep. But Trump is going to be the nominee. Or, you know what? Let's pretend Donald Trump is the nominee. Who do you vote for?
Right, exactly.
Where do you stand if that's your choice?
Honestly, traveling, getting to know these candidates, I really like some other candidates, and I'm looking to see who's going to emerge in November of 2024.
Okay. What's so funny? What's this prick laughing at? See, there's no what's illegitimate about that answer? And not only is there nothing illegitimate about that answer, he's clearly, emphatically saying, I am not here to defend Donald Trump. That's clearly, he's iterating that over and over.
Well, any choice other than voting for Joe Biden, but that's what he gets paid to say, which to, what's his name, Link?
Link, yeah.
To Link's credit, he calls him out on.
He does.
I'd also like to point out.
That's what we call a non-answer. You can let him finish. 1 second. Hold on. We'll get to you. Go ahead, Link. Go ahead, Link.
I'm an independent new media journalist. So I report on culture war stories. I follow politics very closely. It's not my place to tell people how to vote or exactly who I'm going to vote for. Harry, obviously, he made the decision to totally endorse Joe Biden. And if they were paying for my flights and hotels, maybe I'd do the same
my
thing
flights
too.
and hotels were paid for. Please put me in.
I didn't like that.
Your fucking shine box.
There we go. Yeah.
Well, then it's funny. So he denies it, but then he backs down on denying it because he brings it up again. Because last time they tried to pretend they were not paid. They got busted.
They weren't on the take. Right.
They got caught.
Exactly.
So please tell me who's paying my plane. You know, he says that here, but then he goes at him again on that, and he has no response because he doesn't want to get embarrassed on Twitter again.
Right.
No, but it's okay.
I would love for it to be paid for.
But listen. I come from a place of journalism.
I gave you your time.
You're an influencer for Biden, so that's the difference here.
Okay,
Harry, go ahead and respond.
Harry, you can go ahead and respond. Go ahead. Sorry, guys. I apologize.
You're fine. Go ahead.
Here's
well,
like
here's
the
what I'm
uncle
saying.
that
He's
gets stuck
so
babysitting
smooth.
the kids while the husband and wife go fuck in the penthouse, a hotel above them. Right? It's like when you rent two rooms on a vacation, so you can get away with the kids. And let's stick him with the kids for a while. We'll go have some fun. That's like he is. Okay, all right, Harry. Okay, fine. Yeah. Okay, now go ahead. Fine.
But his response is so smooth. Yeah, I apologize, right? This is what I'm saying. Like, he's really practiced and polished. Like, did he have a gig doing this before? Like, it almost seems like you couldn't pick up these skills in a couple of months.
Look, they don't pick these guys for no reason. I mean, he had an agent. He had a talent agent. You got to be good to have it to get it a talent agent, right? So, he's competent for sure.
Sager, so what we just heard from my counterpart on the right is what we call a non-answer. You asked him a question.
What we call a
non-answer. He couldn't bring himself to support.
From my counterpart
what we
on the right.
in the biz,
Yeah, right.
we in the biz call. I mean, you're kind of giving away the game right there. It's what we. You're supposed to be this authentic kid. It was for Biden, right?
Making his TikTok videos.
This is what we call.
What we call a non-answer from my counterpart on the right. When again, the kid gave a perfectly fair answer about he didn't duck it. He said, I'm waiting to see who else emerges. I'm keeping my options open. I'm undecided. He's an undecided voter, right? They exist. According to polls now, about 10 to 15% of voters are undecided. So he's one of those. He's not ducking the question. He's answering it very, very honestly.
Sure. You ask him a question. Are you?
It's not his fault. Whoever fucking booked this show did a lazy job and thought, oh, okay, all right, we got one kid.
He's blonde.
Biden. All right, this kid's blonde, looks kind of like Eric Trump. We'll take him. He must like Trump. Right.
He looks like a member of the Third Reich, so
yeah, right, exactly.
He's got to be a right winger. Look at this guy. If that guy doesn't look like a German officer, who does?
Yeah, no, indeed.
Support Trump, he couldn't bring himself to support the 4-time indicted disgrace former. You're going to support Trump, he couldn't. That is what we call a non-answer. You ask him a question, are you going to support Trump? He couldn't bring himself to support the 4-time indicted disgraced former president who's now a proven sexual abuser or rapist.
Do journalists have
let him finish.
Or rapist as deemed in courts in New York, right? Couldn't give you a determination there. But
okay, once again, not supporting Trump. Again, we don't have to go through the list, but
cat was named Vagina.
Exactly. He's probably too young to know of the Bill Clinton accusations, but obviously he knows Tara Reade's name, which is why he doesn't say Biden has never been accused or credibly accused. He says Biden has never been held liable for.
I did not
sexual
have sexual relations with that woman.
He doesn't even say Biden's never been accused. He can't say that. He frames it very, very specifically in his TikTok videos as Biden's never been held liable, never found liable. That's how trained this kid is. But again,
that's what I'm saying. That's what really struck me, because you see him doing these videos like he just fucking mainlined cocaine.
Exactly.
So, I thought they just pay him to do that. I didn't realize how much this kid is a fucking operative. Like, he is a highly trained professional.
Yeah, well, the White House said, I don't know what the mystery about this was. The White House announced, probably at this point, probably 6-7 months ago, that they were training up a team of TikTok influencers for the 2024 campaign to drive the youth vote. It's very clearly that's who they did. They said they were doing it. It's not like this is a conspiracy theory. Yeah. No, they announced it, that they're assembling a team of TikTok influencers to go out and campaign on social media for Joe Biden.
Hey, Joe Biden just went to Maui and he fucked the coconuts. Let's go.
That's what his videos are like. This surprised me, man. I didn't think he was this pro. There's like it's like they made a soulless consultant in a lab.
Right. Exactly.
Just to respond to what he said earlier, I think it's just when you ask him, why would he support Trump over Biden, right? Why is he voting for Trump? He then cited President Biden going to Maui as one of his big reasons. And he's like, he took 13 days. But
and the granddaughter.
But he wasn't clamoring. I don't think he's brought up the fact that Donald Trump took 15 days to go to Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, which killed thousands. Right? There's no criticism there.
Why would he be clamoring over that? He's not supporting Trump. This is not a question about whether or not he's going to vote for Trump. He made a criticism of Joe Biden, which you have no answer for. And once again, you still have children missing in Maui. You still have a humanitarian disaster in Maui.
Then he goes
of literally unknowable measure right now. And so this is what you're really going to do. You're really going to parse these things right now. We know Joe Biden was on vacation during the critical days and weeks after this. We know that. He goes on to talk about physical presence on the ground, which we can talk about in a second. But did you have anything to add before?
Well, you can also I'm assuming you kept in where he talks about how the locals are positive.
Yeah, that's coming up.
You can always tell when they get talking points, because if you notice, that's the defense all the libs are trying to use in the media. They're all saying that the locals are thrilled. What?
Right? Yeah, they're thrilled.
Like, we can see the "fuck you, Joe Biden" signs.
Right.
We have eyes.
Yeah.
It's so Orwellian.
No, absolutely.
Biden took 13 days. And the reason that Biden took 13 days is because Maui was on fire. Like, it's unsafe for the president and the Secret Service to travel there, along with the federal response going on. And the governor there.
Okay, hold on. If it's unsafe, okay, so this is where we get into the question: should he have gone? Should he not have gone? If it's unsafe for the president and the Secret Service to go, then isn't it unsafe for everyone on the island? Shouldn't there have been an evacuation that kicked into effect immediately? This is the thing. People just in this country, this is why a lot of our peers are absolutely correct to say that America is the most propagandized country on earth. We're just trained to accept that there couldn't have been an evacuation in place. You know how many military bases we have around the world? You know, we can get a fighter jet anywhere in the world like that when we want to, and we do when we want to. You're telling me we could not evacuate an island of 168,000 people? You wouldn't even have to evacuate all of them because a lot of people are not going to leave their homes no matter what. You're telling me you couldn't get people off the island if you wanted to with the resources that this country has? We're just supposed to accept that, well, it wasn't safe for the president to be there. First of all, the president is a public servant, right? He is not a king. So if it's safe enough for an average person to be there, and when I say safe enough, I mean safe enough to the point where you do not have a robust emergency evacuation system in place to get people out of there so they don't have to literally shelter from a fire in the water, which is what people were doing, then yeah, it is safe enough for the fucking president to be there. But whether he's there or not, the fact is secondary to the fact that there was no emergency response in place. This was obviously a very, very slow response to an apocalyptic event. Much in the same way that George W. Bush was slow to respond after the hurricane in New Orleans. And look at the criticism he got for that. That destroyed his presidency. It wasn't Iraq that turned the public against George Bush. It was it was his hurricane response. Because the media held him to account. Meanwhile, you got Biden on vacation while people are sheltering in the water because their tiny island in the middle of the ocean is on fire. And you want to say, well, it was unsafe for him to be there. I think if it's safe enough for a citizen to be there, it's safe enough for the commander-in-chief with all the resources that he would have to go there. But fine, even if he's not there, you're telling me that that's the best we can do. That's the thing. These people actually want you to believe that this government responded the best they could. The best they could. When you see the level of execution that the military is capable of when they want to bomb a brown country into the fucking Stone Age. But we can't get cruise ships and airplanes to our own people when their homes are being burnt to a crisp. It's just amazing.
Well, that's where it's going to be very interesting to see what they do with the tech bros in the desert now.
Right. Yeah,
Are they going to send in the National Guard and get them out of there quickly? That's why I said when we talked about this, this is probably the first part of this story.
Well, yeah, with Burning Man, absolutely, yeah.
That is going to be a real mask off moment if they manage to have these people out of there within 48 hours.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
It's like, yeah, within 6 hours, the president met our needs. On the 10th, President Biden signed an emergency.
Wasn't Tulsi Gabbard there on the ground the next day?
On the 10th, President Biden signed an emergency declaration. So, look, you can clamor in with Tulsi Gabbard, this or that, or President Biden, but the people who are actually in Hawaii are saying, yeah, President Biden met all our needs within hours. Like he's been great. The federal response has been fantastic.
I don't know because
I've seen people it's a bit more complicated. Yeah, go ahead.
Way to go, Sagar. It's a bit more complicated. You tell him.
Well, Crystal's not gonna.
No, right. Exactly.
All right, play it through because the guy nails him pretty good.
Okay.
I've seen people in Maui on their local news station saying, screw Joe Biden. They put up a sign over their businesses saying, we're sorry you lost your Corvette in the fire. I don't know if the people in Maui are so happy, but, God bless.
All right,
I'm just saying, can I say one thing real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes.
This comparison between me and Harry, I feel it's a false comparison. Harry is an influencer who's decided to totally endorse Joe Biden, which is his prerogative, right? Mm-hmm. I'm a new media journalist. My medium happens to be TikTok, right? It's not my place to opine or tell people who to vote for. I'm not owned by a political party. I'm not owned by a media conglomerate. I cover the news. I look at a lot of information and I give you my take. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah. Somebody's getting fired over there because they booked the wrong guest. And then
clearly...
not Sagar, but Crystal spent that whole interview trying to turn it into the interview she wanted.
Exactly, yeah.
Even after it became very clear that you got the wrong guy for that.
Right. No, Sagar was a pro about it, at least. I mean, he's very timid, as he has been in recent episodes here, but he was at least a pro about it, whereas, it's same, look, rules of improv. Always say yes, right? If the interviews go in a certain direction, you got to go with it. You booked the wrong guest. You thought you were booking a partisan Trump hack to go up against a partisan Biden hack, and that's not what you got. And yes, you're right. Crystal kept what we call in the business, right? What did Harry say? We call it in the business avoiding the answer. Well, what she was doing, we call in the business blocking, right? That's a block in improv. Right. When you don't take yes for an answer, you keep trying to steer the scene where you know it has to go no matter what, because you know where it has to go. She was not taking yes for an answer.
Yeah, that was almost more disgraceful than the coverage we did on her the other day. Because it was... Okay, I mean, with Marianne, based on the bookcase, we're starting to say, Crystal is maybe one of these rich lady New Age flakes. And for the people who are, we heard from some people who are into New Age. Okay, so listen, I have some beliefs about mind over matter and stuff, as I said the other day. You start getting into the power crystals, you kind of lost me a little bit. I think tarot cards on a Jungian basis probably have something going on. So when I talk about that with Crystal, I'm talking about a specific... I'm not even talking necessarily about the whole belief system. But it's kind of like the Burning Man thing. There's definitely a certain kind of rich upper crust lady, like Nancy Reagan with her astrology, right? Like, it strikes me that way with Crystal. She's one of those. But this, it's just like... It's increasingly clear she just has no real ethics about the way that she does her job at this point. Like, why, when this guy keeps telling you he's not a Trump supporter, why won't you fucking let it go?
Right, exactly.
Really need the segment to be what you wanted it to be? Bad?
Well, but this is why people were saying online a lot that, she was covering for Harry and really trying to bolster Harry, because the only conversation that little dimwit is capable of having is a conversation against his opposite, which would be a partisan Trump hack,
right?
Because
Talking
he
points.
Only thinks in those terms. So, like, you don't have, you booked the wrong guest in terms of Link Lauren, because you booked a kid who was more thoughtful than Harry Sisson is on the other side. So not only is it not fair to Link, but you're also really putting Harry in a tough spot, because Harry Sisson's not capable of having the kind of conversation that Link was hoping they would have, right? Harry could only attack someone else as opposite of himself, as a Trump person.
Which is what he turned it into.
Exactly.
Like he just pivoted
that's why, but
to
Crystal was helping
how
him do
can
that.
you
That's
not
why
vote
she got
for
a lot of criticism for that, because she was helping him do that by trying to steer Link back so that he could be the foil to Harry Sisson. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Well, instead of making it, he just pivoted to, instead of making it about how can you vote for Trump, he made it about how can you not vote for Biden, which are just basically the same talking points. That's what I'm saying. The kid is smooth. He handled it. He just shifted to, well, how can you not vote for Joe Biden? Don't you see what's on the other side? And both him and Crystal refuse to get off the idea that Donald Trump is absolutely going to be the nominee. Which, yeah, man, like, all things being equal, sure. But all things aren't equal. Like, you just cannot present that with such certitude, given the 85 prosecutions.
Yeah, no, there's still too many X factors this far out. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's take some super chats here, and then we got one more segment to do before the night is over. Eric Rousseau, thanks for the $2. FBM, long live heavy metal. Thank you, Eric Rousseau. Appreciate that. Burning Man, says Dwayne Vogel, thanks for the $5. Is the Bohemian Grove for mid-level apparatchiks? Yes, yeah, indeed. I just don't understand how people, because look, no one likes a cult, right? Like, if you call someone a cultist, that is a pejorative term, right? Everybody takes that as an insult. So how do you lack the self-awareness to know that if you're going out in the middle of the fucking desert and lighting a human effigy on fire, that is a cult? I mean, that is so clearly a cult. Like, I don't understand how that's lost on people. Or maybe some people don't mind being in a cult. I don't know. But I always thought cultist was an insult. I always thought when someone said, well, you're in a cult, people took offense to that.
I mean, is it a cult, or is it the ethos of their class? Like, if you look at the stuff these people are into,
6 of one, half dozen of the other, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the TED Talks, if you look at, it's this whole, it's very built around notions of, look, when you take away religion from people, and very few of these people are religious, they have to fill that void somehow. And they filled it with kind of self-actualization. They filled it with the realization of the ultimate self, which, I don't think that's very satisfying. I don't think that's quite enough to just worship yourself. But it's, I observed when I traveled cross country that, the further you get from the East Coast, the more the country becomes purely America, right? Because on the East Coast, you're still too close to Europe. By the time, as you get to the Midwest, it's becoming more American, more purely American, recognizably American. And by the time you get to the West Coast, that is the result of the people for whom going to the Midwest wasn't enough. They said, fuck that shit. I need to keep going. I'm going until I hit the ocean, right? By the time you get there, it's pure America. When you look at these movements, when you look at the ethos of this age, it's sad, but it almost implies that the ultimate conclusion of the American experiment is narcissism and self-obsession.
Right.
I mean, that's where it's ended. That's where it's gone. So if you watch the shit that they're into, it's a lot of like how to control your neurochemistry. Right. It's this very like secular, like how to perfect yourself as a human being through holistic, scientific, kind of physical, outside in kind of methods, which is kind of what you're reduced to if you have no real spiritual belief system, right? Like it's all about actualizing and being at peak performance like a machine.
Right. No, makes sense for sure. Garble, lorem ipsum dolo. Okay, what the hell's going on with some of these super chats tonight? Are you guys at Burning Man or no? Are you messing with me? I know Garble, you posted another cryptic one earlier.
I mean, clear. I guess they're laying the Latin on us.
Maybe. Kelly Watson, thanks for the $4.99. Lucky for me, I'm about to work out. Rage is good right now. Yes, absolutely. Get you moving, get you active. Hope you're having a good workout. Thank you for that donation. Appreciate it. Ruthless criticism. Thank you, my friend. He's in college, meaning Harry Sisson. Looks like our Marxist infiltration of higher education has failed. Yeah, back it up, boys. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what college actually breeds. It doesn't breed actual Marxists or actual revolutionaries. That's not why you go to college. You don't go to college because you want to overthrow the system. You go to college because you want to benefit from the system. That's literally the whole point.
Right. Exactly. Especially and they mentioned he's going
NYU. Yeah, for sure.
NYU, that's the worst, man.
Look up Vercingetorix 2. He was a famous Gaul. Okay. All right. Interesting. All right, that was over our head. That was too smart a reference for us. But thank you. Yeah. Appreciate that, Dave. Thank you very much. Tusker, thanks for the $5. Anyone think it's weird every time Crystal speaks, Sisson smiles like his partner just tagged in? Well, yeah, because, that's why she got a lot of shit for that on Twitter, because that's what it looked like. It looked like she was trying to help Harry create that foil that he needed. Right, because the only person Harry is really capable of engaging with is either a fellow Biden person or a Trump person, because that's just the way the libs' brains are wired. Whether they're 20 or 80, doesn't really matter.
I'm gonna comment on a non super chat just quickly. Oh, there's Derek actually. Look, man, you're gonna get
so Derek's getting 2 for 1. Oh, okay.
You're getting 2 for 1, man. At least you paid us. Now I don't feel as bad. Burning Man wasn't always like. Yeah, we know. We said that. We said that. I saw somebody else, Kinky, who's a regular viewer, said we're painting the burners with a broad brush. We're not talking about back in the day. We're talking about now. We're talking about who's there now. I know it wasn't always like this.
Williamsburg was cool too. Soho was cool too.
Yeah, sure,
West Village was
exactly.
cool too. Yeah,
New York used to be cool.
New York was cool. Peter Douche recently tweeted to Harry telling them that he did the same for Hillary and that Harry will come to regret his shilling later. Interesting. I would like to see that exchange. Interesting point.
That
Thanks
sounds
for that.
interesting.
Indeed.
If anyone could pull a rhyme with the Ancient Mariner on him, it would be Peter Douche.
Right, exactly. Here's an interesting idea. Aspen Fallen, thanks for the $2. Link Lauren to be a good TPDS guest. Yeah, that might be something. That might be fun. See if we can get in touch with him. Yeah, we would treat him a lot better than they did.
We would interview him about that interview.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Janice Anderson, thanks for the $4.99. Link demonstrates a much more professional journalistic integrity than Crystal does. She destroyed her reputation for a totally corrupt political party. Agreed. And thank you again. Dwayne, Crystal Knox, Knight of the Broken Liberal. Yeah, good one. Just more Crystal Blue
one.
Persuasion. Thank you, Dwayne, for both of those. All righty. We got a couple more to get to. Let's get to our final segment before we do that, shall we? One more segment tonight, 877 in the YouTube chat. We love to see that. 152 on Rumbles, which means you are over 1,000 viewers between those two platforms. So thank you guys all for being here. Please hit that like button to help juice this in the algorithm, and please hit that subscribe button. If you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. And if you are not following the Rumble channel, hit that follow button under the Rumble screen. Super important. Thank you all very much for being here. We are almost done, but we have one more segment that we have to cover here. So we talked a little bit in the past few weeks, actually, about some signs that the old rules were sort of making a comeback over at X, formerly known as Twitter. It started with Linda Yaccarino going on TV and articulating that, they are going to flag unsafe posts versus safe posts, and that freedom of speech does not mean freedom of reach, right? So there have been some ominous signs going on in the past. We've learned a few days ago that Twitter had been throttling links from some of their more hostile competitors' sites like Facebook, Instagram, Substack. And now we had a post from the Twitter safety team, Trust and Safety, that went viral for all the wrong reasons. So here was the original post. X has a responsibility to put the right systems in place to ensure our communities have access to open, accurate, and safe political discourse. That's why we're hiring more people, updating our policies, and evolving our product. So if you remember, when Elon took over, a lot of the Trust and Safety team resigned. And people thought that was a good thing because it was a bloated department that didn't need to exist in as big a way as it did. They wanted less regulation of speech on the platform. So the idea is, well, fuck it. Good that they left, right? Leave it alone. Now it seems like they are revamping that just as election season heats up, as we turn the calendar from summer to fall here in 2023, and consciousness is about to explode along with engagement. So before we read the blog post itself, which this was linked to, I just want to show you the ratio as of yesterday. I prepared this graphic yesterday, so it's probably even worse now. But as of last night, 1,755 likes to 6,365 comments. That's what we call in the business, folks, an epic ratio. Epic ratio.
And I understand that was actually George Takei liking it 1,755
right.
times.
George Takei using George Takei and 1,754 George Takei burner accounts. Yes, who liked that. So here's from the blog post.
Three of them were Stephen King.
Yeah, exactly. Here's from the blog post. During elections, X works to get in front of a range of tactics that people use to target the process. To do this, we hire the right people, update our policies, and evolve our product. Our people. We're currently expanding our safety and elections team to focus on combating manipulation, surfacing inauthentic accounts, and closely monitoring the platform for emerging threats. Our policies. We have rules in place to help protect the safety and authenticity of conversations on X. During elections, our civic integrity policy provides an extra layer of protection that is applied for a limited period of time before and during an election. What does this sound kind of a lot like? Sounds a lot like the kind of shit that went on right around the time that the Hunter Biden laptop story surfaced, right? First at or before the election, we start really ramping up these efforts. We're updating this policy to make sure we strike the right balance between tackling the most harmful types of content. Those could intimidate or deceive people into surrendering their right to participate in a civic process and not censoring political debate. The policy will also be aligned with our updated enforcement philosophy, freedom of speech, not reach. That's not really an updated enforcement philosophy. That's kind of been the line that we heard at the old guard as well. But we will add publicly visible labels to posts identified as potentially violating the civic integrity policy, letting people know when their reach has been restricted. Okay, so now you don't get shadow banned, you just get suppressed, and they tell you, hey.
I mean, listen, I could be wrong. I never liked Twitter. I never liked the platform. I always saw that it was an emotional toilet bowl. I've become active on it because I'm in a political space, and you kind of have to be, but I still don't like it. I'm not on there that much. All that having been said, ever since we tweeted out clips of the interview we did with Stephanie Wynn and Lisa Selin Davis about trans issues, my tweets are not getting as much visibility as they did. I don't have a huge account, so on average my stuff was doing like 1,000, 1,500 views. Ever since then, they're about 200. Now, again, I don't use the platform a lot. It could be nothing, but it seems to me as soon as I put that out, my visibility dropped immediately.
There's certain content that is pretty clearly getting suppressed. There are certain websites that they are deliberately throttling, so we know that for sure. We don't got to read the whole rest of that blog post, but Brett Weinstein responds, that's some grade A Orwellian bullshit right there.
Good for you, Brett.
Friend of the show, Misty Winston. Just look at all the free speech I roll. Again, accepting all the apologies I will never get from Musk stans who swore he was about free speech and was going to improve Twitter. Same shit, different symbol. I want to say, because we got some people in the comment section saying, well, now you guys are eating shit. What did we say? We said, if you could go back and look it up, we said we'd rather Elon than Jack Dorsey. But we also said the minute he betrays his promise to make it a freer platform, we will criticize him as harshly as we would anyone else, and that is what we did. That's what we did. We've been on this for weeks now.
That's called forming your opinion based on the facts as known at the time.
Right, exactly.
What a concept.
Right. We said at the time we would rather him than Jack Dorsey, but if he turns his back on what he said, we will be the first to call him out, and we'll be among the harshest, and I think we've lived up to that. We've done this now. We've been on this now for the past few weeks. With every development.
You see, this is the thing when you're.
I didn't mean that as a knock on Misty, but I'm not saying she wasn't calling us out or anything. But I'm just saying, in general, we've gotten some comments, right?
No,
I'm on Misty Winston's show, by the way, on September 11th, Monday.
I was going to ask you about that because
don't forget September 11th. You should never forget September 11th anyway. Yes, but don't forget September 11th. Yes, 6:15. Well, I picked. She said you could pick any day from the 11th to the 15th. And I said, let me pick September 11th so I don't forget. Because if I pick September 13th, I might forget because nobody remembers September 13th. But everybody remembers September 11th, including me. So I'll make sure.
First she asked me, and I was like, well, listen, for 9/11, you probably want a truther, so talk to Keaton.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And Keaton will give you all the Building 7
stuff.
Yeah,
I'll give you all that stuff. Yeah, we'll do a
Pentagon
special.
Missile. And
we're probably going to have post-duopoly that night, too, actually, because that's a Monday.
Oh, really?
So I'll have a double header.
Oh, wow.
But yes.
But yeah, this is the thing when you're not a hack. You know a hack? They have one position, and it never changes no matter what the facts on the ground are.
Right.
Like Harry Sisson there. You could show him a picture of Joe Biden fucking a chihuahua. And he would say he's demonstrating his love of animals. He's trying to raise money for a shelter, right? I mean, there'd be no, yeah, man. I mean, we were happy to see him take over from the old regime, and it looked, like we never really, you know, we were always suspicious because it's a billionaire. It's Elon Musk. Like, we always called him an asshole and a scumbag. We basically, yeah, we did. I mean, even when we were supporting him, we say he's an asshole, he's a scumbag, but he's the scumbag we'd rather have in charge of Twitter for the time being, at least based on what he's saying. And we also said, you know, it's a problem of the system that you have to look for which billionaire is going to be better on freedom of speech because the government is so ineffective and not even in the space regulating this. So you're reduced to begging for your speech from the more free speech oriented billionaire, which these billionaires is more libertarian about speech. And that's, we never felt that was a good position to be in. We never felt that was a good place. Now, of course, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Like, we're not fans.
Right.
Like, oh, well, you know, what do you want him to do?
Right,
He
yeah,
can't
exactly
just lose money. Fuck that motherfucker, man. He's got plenty of money. He could run this thing at a loss if he believed in it that much.
Yeah,
but he doesn't.
Yeah, you could reorient it in ways that I will actually explain in just a moment here, because I want to go to...
he's got trouble with the advertisers, and look, I wouldn't be surprised if part of his calculation, he's got his finger in a lot of pies, man. He needs the government to be with him on Tesla.
Well, yeah,
to be with him on SpaceX.
This is a big problem. Of course,
like, he can't really fight the system without it impacting his other businesses.
So this is Chris Pavlovsky, co-founder, CEO of Rumble. And he quote tweeted this. He says, "What does this mean? I feel like I've seen this before," referencing a little bit of like what I was talking about earlier. So he actually gave this quote in reference to the safety post, but there's another element of this, which Russell just referred to, which is the advertiser. So this is from Reclaim the Net. New X terms to start in September include the old Twitter clause that it can ban you for being commercially inviolable. So this is interesting. We have broad enforcement rights. So these are the new rules, obviously, because they're referring to it as X, which it was just renamed. So X reserves the right to take enforcement actions against you if you do violate these terms, such as, for example, removing your content, limiting visibility, discontinuing your access to X, or taking legal action. We may also suspend or terminate your account for other reasons, such as prolonged inactivity, risk of legal exposure, or commercial inviolability. So what they're referencing there is that if you become a liability with the advertisers, we can just throw you off. In other words, if advertisers don't want to be associated with our platform because of people like you posting shit like what you post, we can just get rid of those posts to satisfy the advertisers. So why did I mention Chris Pavlovsky's tweet from earlier? Because he actually set an example of how I would like to see these interactions dealt with. So this is from PR Newswire, December 2021. This was a post that Rumble put out severing ties with an advertiser over their attempts to essentially cancel the Dan Bongino show, or at least have their ads removed from his show. Today, the video platform Rumble announced the termination of its relationship with the Unruly Group and Tremor International after they attempted to censor Dan Bongino, the host of a nationally syndicated radio show and Fox News television program. This decision reaffirms Rumble's commitment to a free and open internet by hosting a variety of viewpoints on topics of public interest. Quote, Tremor's attempt to censor Dan Bongino violated Rumble's core principles, said Rumble CEO Chris Pavlovsky. Shadowy activists may not like what Dan Bongino has to say, but Rumble will always encourage open debate without taking sides. That is why Rumble decided to terminate its contract with Tremor. We won't tolerate politicized attempts to cancel creators. So what they're doing on a platform like Rumble, which is an actual free speech platform, which is why I encourage you all to follow us there, is that they're telling the advertisers, look, here's the deal. You want to advertise with us, You can't pick and choose which shows we feature your ads on based on who you like and who you dislike. We are a free speech platform. You sign a contract with us, it's pretty likely that some of your ads are going to appear on some shows that you don't like, where they're going to be saying things that you don't like. You have to be willing to live with that. If you're not willing to live with that, then we are not a good fit for you. That is how you handle advertisers. And if you're Elon, like Russell said, he has other interests that he has to weigh, which is what always made him a sort of wild card, right, in this role. But it's a slower road to the top when you do it the way Rumble is doing it. But that's the only way to ensure that you operate without a gun to your head, because the advertisers will always hold you hostage if you are not willing to stand up to them and say, no, listen, we have a lot of people here. Right? If you're the X app now, you say, look, we got tens of millions of people posting tens of millions of posts per day on this thing. You want to be here. We have something that is valuable for you. You're just going to have to be okay with the fact that people are going to post stuff that you don't like. It's that simple. We are a free expression platform. We have access to a lot of people. This will work out very well for you, but you have to be willing to play ball in that way. And if you're not, take a fucking walk. That's the way Rumble does it. And they're growing slower because of it. But I think in the long run, that is the more sustainable model. Because as long as you subject yourself to the whims and trends of the time, these advertisers can always pull the rug out from under you. That's what makes big tech such a precarious place for us, right? It's the same thing, just on a larger scale. You make yourself cancelable when you make yourself hostage to the ESG score of Sony. Right.
Yeah. And that has been our long-winded way of saying, starting tomorrow, you can find us on Truth Social.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
We're canceling our blue check.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And we will be interviewing Donald Trump. That was part of the deal.
Right.
Yeah, I not only agree with you. All right, man. I know some of my commie friends don't like it when we start talking like this. Rumble is publicly traded. I didn't actually know that.
It is, yes.
It's publicly traded. This is not to be construed as financial advice. Yeah, I think that's a good investment in my opinion. I could be wrong, but I think that there's going to be a tipping point where those platforms are really going to take off. Because people are gonna, there are going to be so many people who don't want to be censored, or also people who want to see uncensored content.
Right.
And the more sanitized these platforms get, I would say, look, it would be a nightmare for a lot of creators. But if YouTube really does go nuclear and kick the independent media off, that would be the catalyst. Rumble would fucking go off the hook.
Right.
You would have everybody who doesn't want, brain worm fucking breaking point shit would go over there.
Yeah, and I think that reality is starting to set in. I mean, we won't get too inside baseball on the air now, but, YouTube has already started to roll out a feature where you could get some of your guidelines warnings revoked if you take a certain course, because I think
that's interesting.
I think they're starting to sense the fact that long term, people are going to invest in organizations that reflect their values. And we still have, for all the horrible faults of this crazy place that I told Thomas Frank we should just let burn, we still have a First Amendment. People here like to be able to talk, and they like to be able to be heard, and they like to be able to listen to people who want to be heard.
Right.
And so this is what I mean. We're like, yeah, you can cave to the whims of advertisers like X is starting to do now. And look, it's no coincidence. They're doing it at the start of the election season, right? That's when these new rules are coming into place, because there's going to be more eyes on them, more pressure on them. You have to be willing to just say, like, no, these are the values of the company. We want your business. We're not trying to turn you away. We want your business, and we have enough people here to make your business worthwhile for you, but you have to be okay. It's not an endorsement of what Dan Bongino says. It's an endorsement of, for that advertiser to want to pull, you're not endorsing what he says by advertising on his show or by having your ad play on his show. It's not like Bongino's doing ad reads, right? It's like you're simply endorsing his right to say what he wants.
Right.
That's it. That's all it is. That's all it is. What is so fucking scary about that? What is scary about that?
Well, I think what's scary about it, we don't, it's late in the evening. We don't want to go too down this rabbit hole. I think the liberal class has nothing to offer economically.
Exactly. Yep.
And most of their culture war positions are repulsive to most people. So at that point, you're not offering anything that's going to put money in people's pocket, and people really don't like your cultural stances. So what can you do other than censor? What can you do other than suppress? Because that an open debate will not favor you.
Exactly.
So you have to go to propagandistic techniques of suppression and just repeating something enough in the hopes that enough people will believe it's true for you to get away with pushing that agenda.
Exactly. I mean, that's really what it is. That's really what it is. Because their censorship is how they prove themselves right, by just insisting that dissent is illegitimate. Even though you could tell by what you see and feel around you that they're not right, because you could tell that their ideas do not work. They do not create better lives for people, right?
No.
But the only way they can convince you they're right is by convincing you that other ideas are simply out of bounds. This way, by process of elimination, you arrive at the conclusion that, well, they must be on to something, because you're not even allowed to say anything that goes against them.
I'm not. Again, we could dedicate an episode to this. I don't think anyone could argue that neoliberalism, in all of its aspects, has not dominated our society for several decades, and I would lump in a lot of the liberal class's cultural fetishes under that. Okay, so if, as the narrative goes, we are a better society now, then why are the lifespans dropping? Why is suicide or self-deletion? Why is self-deletion exploding? Why is mental illness an epidemic? Like, look, all of these culture war positions have been won by the liberal class. I mean, no one could argue otherwise, right? I mean, our institutions are dominated by these ideas. So if they were supposed to make people happier and more liberated, why have they never been more miserable? And yes, there's a large economic component to that, but those things are interdependent, because you needed to focus on very extreme versions of the cultural positions in order to distract from your lack of any proposition on the economic side. So what you've wound up with are cultural positions that have been presented as de facto liberating and truthful, when maybe a lot of these ideas have actually been very damaging to the structure of society and to people's emotional and psychological health, combined with undermining their economic prospects. So basically, I mean, the liberal class has created or helped to create a fucking hellhole. I mean, they at least bear 50% of the responsibility. What can they do to defend that? Nothing. So they can't let you speak about it.
Right. Indeed. Tusker, thanks for the $5. Keaton, you need an MSNBC Trump talking points list done parrot voice style like you have for the progressives and squad. I will develop that. Thank you. Something to workshop. Thanks for the donation. Roy Astorietta.
That's one of my favorite Keaton bits. I love that bit.
Do you believe in life after the duopoly by Cher? Yes, good pitch. Good pitch. Thank you, sir. Let's get the cowbell out for John Locke. $50 came to you guys a year after the Van Grift episode. That's true. This is about the year anniversary of our breakout hit, the Vanguard Aaron Mate episode. That was about a year ago to the day, I think. Almost. Favorite left show since the Michael Brooks show. Well, thank you, John Locke. We appreciate that very, very much. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I was a big fan of Michael Brooks as well. Even though I did not agree with him on everything, he was the most talented in this space in terms of broadcasting, in terms of humor, in terms of knowledge. He was the quickest on his feet. I maintain that. I know some people got a problem with that, and he could fucking suck it. Okay, so that's what I got to say there. Tusker, thanks for the $5. It's your duty to maintain your civil integrity, citizen. Please refrain from any civic dissidence and have a good day. Yes, indeed.
What was that, Judge Dredd?
Tusker's
a little geeky, man. So she's kind of into that kind of thing.
Judge Dredd, I remember Judge Dredd. I never watched it though. I was too young for it when it came out.
You know what, man?
I was like 8 years old when that movie came out.
No, the Stallone movie was terrible, but they did a remake with Armand Assante that was actually very good, or like a reboot.
Oh, they did?
Remake. Yeah, that was good. That was really good. I'm surprised they didn't make another one.
Yeah, I never even heard of that.
No, that was actually very good.
Garble, when life hands you peaches, freeze them. Yeah, Garble's going with the real cryptic super chats this evening, but thank you, appreciate it. Chuck Bach,
he's freaking taking ketamine out there in the desert.
Yeah, he's out there burning, man. Somebody get Garble safe, right? Let's make sure we get Garble home safe and sound. Chuck Bach, thanks for the $19.99. Trust me, Russell, as a West Coast native working for East Coast companies for 3 decades, I could go on and on about the BS that is the East.
Well, I'm not
I
making
believe it, yeah.
I'm not making a case of like East over West.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, culturally, you get out there, and if you're an East Coaster, that disconnection from the European roots is palpable when you get there. It's the culture of that westward expansion had an impact that you can feel there, that it's just the East didn't have that experience. The people here are descended, or a lot of them are descended from people who didn't go that way. And as a result, they weren't shaped by this very transformative experience of crossing the continent and creating a completely different world out there. I think that's a big part of why, people who want to explore different kinds of religions and philosophies and psychologies and lifestyles have tended to go out there, because it was founded by people who felt that way. It was founded by people for whom leaving the old world just wasn't good enough.
Right.
We're going to go and go and go until we can't go any further. Right? And that, to a large extent, has defined the culture there in a way that, as an East Coaster, is very noticeable to me.
Rodrigo Mendez says Rumble censors criticism of Israel, mentions of Peter Thiel, and has suppressed a few interviews of Dr. Cornel West. It's not a free speech platform. Well, now you just got us in trouble over there because I read this on the air. So thanks a lot, Rodrigo.
Yeah, that's it. Now
I'm kidding. Thank you for the donation. And I have heard some things about that, but I know that, so far, my experience over there, we've said some shit over there because we do our patron only shows over there. It's night and day.
Hasn't been
but
a problem
I
so
take the
far.
point. Yes. Thank you, Rodrigo. All right, folks, we're going to get out of here in just a moment. We got Virtuoso on the line. We got time for a quick call. You want to say hello for a second, Virtuoso? Unmute if you want to. All right, there he is. Virtuoso, longtime supporter. Thanks, Virtuoso. I think, are you calling because Russell was impressed with your Metallica reference earlier?
Oh, no.
I was hoping that's what it was.
Just
hoping
real
to
quick.
talk Metallica with you. Go ahead.
I did not see that coming after that Melly Mel drop on my Facebook, man.
Oh yeah. I had to correct you guys. Also, the guy who played Judge Dredd is the 2012 remake was Carl Urban from The Boys. Have you seen that show?
No.
Who played what?
I've heard of The Boys.
Carl Urban. He was in Star Trek.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
The Judge Dredd remake. There was
wasn't that Armand Assante?
No, he was in the first one with Stallone.
Oh shit! Really?
Yes, he played Rico.
That makes sense. I never saw it.
Shitty movies. It was all right.
I thought it was pretty good, man. I thought, I love me some dystopian sci-fi. I thought it worked.
I think it did well. I mean, I don't know. I never saw it.
I was very surprised they didn't do a follow-up.
Yeah, I would like to see him be like fight the Predator at least, like do this cross brand like crossover movies. That's fine with that. They did with Alien and Predator. I like to see that
Oh
anyway.
yeah, right.
Yeah, but I called in because listen, first and foremost, I've heard you guys mention Henry Street Settlement. I think
Yeah,
it was the
yeah.
last week's show. I used to go to acting school like next door to Abrams Arts Theater, I believe.
Okay, yeah.
And yeah, and listen, I used to do musical theater. I fucking hated it. I cannot sing for shit. I used to think that what I used to sing, like I kind of sounded great, but then when you kind of listen to
Yeah.
yourself, it's like it's really bad, and it's like you really need like vocal training before you do anything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to ask, did John Wilkes Booth ever stay there at the Henry Street Settlement? I heard he used to stay there, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think that's possible. I'm pretty sure it was after that era.
Yes,
I,
because
I'm almost positive because just from my knowledge of the settlement houses and the period that those were established, that's really early 20th century that they
oh,
started building
okay.
those.
I thought I heard that before, but I
Nah,
just
nah,
wanted to.
because those things were built, as
Yeah.
particularly in that area for the poor Jews who were coming in that period.
Oh, okay. No, because I used to hear things like that, but I just wanted to segue because I need another lecture in Lesser to Evilism on Twitter. Like I need another hole in my head, Lincoln. I for real. Um, it just stems from Jimmy Dore and saying that, oh, I'd just rather vote for McConnell than Bernie, and that's like that's not an admission of guilt. That's just an expression of anger. In case you didn't notice, because I think he'd rather have an honest enemy than someone who kind of like stabs him in the back, like Bernie.
Right.
And me pointing that out, it's like it shouldn't warrant like a response from other leftists on Twitter that think that it's a myopic defense of another party, another entity over another. Like I don't want to hear that just because I'm pointing out that both parties protect capital doesn't mean it gives them carte blanche. You know, doesn't mean that I believe that, oh, I protect, I think the abortion is a right, that should be protected by the Republic. No. I'm not trying to have the myopic conversation with them. It's just like if I point that out, I shouldn't be told that, oh, so do you support Roe v. Wade? Yes or no? This and that. I can't handle it. And Willie Bragg just got blocked by one of these people. I think chaotic leftists. And I got to say, one of them too, like him and Emo Dragon, whatever, are the biggest like self-indulgent thoughts on leftist Twitter. I just think it, yeah, it's just a total waste of time. It's like, oh, because you don't agree with someone, I should block you. Okay, well then there's no point in building a movement. It's not going to go beyond, the digital space. And it's like I know these people do not talk to these people in real life, because they're not from an area where they're like available to build a movement with other people. I mean, so what I'm suggesting is like if you, because I look at things like economically, I think that people should benefit from the system, that helps them move out of places that kind of debilitate, doesn't respect their rights. If you want to move to a blue state, hey, they can facilitate that, just got to benefit from it, and I don't see that happening.
This is one of the things I
hang on a
always
second,
say.
Russell. Before you respond to that, Link is apparently in the chat, and asked to call in. So, Link, I sent you an email just now because your email is on your Twitter. So if you want to call in and talk for a few minutes, we'll make time for you. Obviously, least we could do.
just don't bring that fucking Trump supporting shit over here.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I just emailed it to you. So if you got that email, then call in.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, he's here. Okay, beautiful. All right. Excellent.
All right.
Did you have a response to Virtuoso before we admit him?
Yes. So
Virtuoso was like, "What am I, fucking Chavo? I'm getting booted.
What am I? What am I? Wood? That's what we used to say in my neighborhood. What am I? Wood?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is part of why I always say, I mean, definitely part of my theory of politics is shaped by having come from a working class neighborhood where everybody was an old school Teamsters kind of Democrat, and they all ended up being Fox News Republicans. And I saw how that happened. And part of it was that they felt like their friend betrayed them, right? You hate a false friend more than you hate a sworn enemy sometimes. And I think that was part of how they wound up getting drawn over to that side of things.
All right. Virtuoso, thank you so much for the call. We appreciate it, man. Always great to hear from you. Impromptu guest, never done this before, but let's go to on the line, on the phone. Apparently,
Stick in Margaritaville.
Beautiful. Yes, indeed. Go for it. On the phone now, we have Link Lauren, who we just actually were doing a segment partially about. Hang on a second, Link, before you say hello. I just want to, because you're on audio only, I want to make this look as professional as possible and put a little chyron up for you. So in case we clip this. On the phone, Link Lauren, a Gen Z TikTok influencer and diehard committed MAGA Trump supporter. So why do you support Trump so much, Link? No, I'm just kidding. Hey, thanks for watching and thanks for offering to come talk to us. It's great to meet you.
Thank you, guys. I just got off. I was interviewing Marianne Williamson for the last hour, and then I checked my...
Link, did you ask her about the staff abuse? Because nobody will ask her about this.
So what I told her was, I said, I've seen the hit pieces, but let me tell you, Marianne, your team was real professional to schedule with. Your assistant, Lauren, was great. Yeah, no, I did not. I did make a joke about it, but everybody I talked to was great. So I just interviewed her on TikTok Live. Once it's done processing, I'll post it. But yeah, no, people have been messaging me the other night. People were doing reactions on YouTube to the Breaking Points thing. And then someone messaged me that you guys were talking about me, someone named Do Dissidents. And I said, oh, let me Google this. So I'm having a cheeseburger, making a Shirley Temple, enjoying Labor Day weekend with my friends and family. How are you guys?
I'm doing great, man.
Good.
Thanks for calling in.
Thing.
Yeah,
thank you.
No, it's great. It's great to hear from you. I thought you handled yourself. I don't know if you saw our coverage, but I thought you handled yourself really well in that interview because you stayed committed to your position, what seems like your position. I mean, I'll ask you right now. It sounded like to me you're not a committed Trump supporter, that you're keeping your options open, but that you have these criticisms of Joe Biden. And they kept trying to steer the interview back to sort of painting you into a corner as being some Trumper so that you can be a foil to Harry Sisson.
Yeah, there seemed to be some tomfoolery going on because when they reached out, it was never painted or portrayed to me as being some heated debate between me and Harry Sisson. I thought it was a conversation about issues Gen Z's dealing with, like all the things I talk about on my TikTok page, mental health, young people turning to substances, the suicide rate going up, healthcare, Ukraine. I thought we were going to talk about issues and how Gen Z feels, but I think they wanted it to be like a personal, like Real Housewives reunion kind of debate. Right. And I was trying to come from a place of journalism. Like I was just in Iowa with Vivek Ramaswamy. I was in Milwaukee at the debate covering it. Just interviewed Marianne Williamson. I've interviewed Kennedy, have more coming. So I talked to candidates on both sides of the aisle. It would be really bizarre for me to say, I support this candidate right now, September 1st of 2023.
So your show, you're basically doing straight journalism from a generational perspective. Is that what your show is?
Yeah, on my TikTok, I get about 20 million views a month, and I guess it's turned into these opportunities to go on podcasts. I'd never heard of these podcasts or anything. People around me were saying, you got to go on Breaking Points. It's such a big deal. And so I was grateful to be invited on and grateful for Crystal and Sager having me. But it seemed like they wanted a hardcore Trumper versus a hardcore Biden.
Right.
And I thought there was so much room for more nuanced conversation because to me, the Trump versus Biden, they're already doing that on every mainstream news network. We could go turn on MSNBC and hear that debate. So why not talk about real things that are going on? Because a lot of the systemic issues, they've been here before, they're going to be here after any of these candidates. So, it just seems that it's a little weird.
So why do you think, because talking to you now just reinforces the impression that their bookers really fucked up. Like, why did they think that you were going to hold down the MAGA position, because I'm not hearing that at all.
Yeah, no. And even the person who set that all up said you were never pitched to them as that. You never pitched as that. You know, obviously a large contingent of my audience, they support Trump. I mean, he's doing really well in the polls and the mugshot is only helping. But it's not my place to opine and tell people, like, how am I going to go interview Tim Scott if I'm on the internet calling for people to support and endorse one other candidate? Why the hell are they going to have me on the campaign trail? That'd be crazy. So what Harry and I do is very different. And like, I just want to say, I'm so grateful to be on. You know, we had to reschedule multiple times. Harry stood us up. We sat there on Zoom last week waiting for Harry to show up. I'm just keeping it all the way real because I haven't been living in DC. I'm not part of the swamp or the establishment. I'm just keeping it all the way real. I'm sure people will be upset with this, but you know, the morning after the debate, I got up at 5 a.m. to do Larry O'Connor's radio show on WMAL. I rushed back to the hotel to get on Breaking Points with Harry. He never shows. They said, can we reschedule for the week after? I said, sure. I go on Twitter and Harry was tweeting about how much he hates Donald Trump. And so I, to add some levity and some humor, I tweeted back and I said, hey, Harry, it looks like you're awake. We're all waiting for you on Breaking Points. It's not a good look to stiff the hottest political podcast out right now. Then I get a call from the producer. Take your tweet down. I'm not going to have you on the show if you don't take the tweet down. No. You got to take the tweet down against Harry. It was his management. Why? They messed it up. And so from then there was already this protection of him. And I'm like, what is going on? Why are we protecting? I said on the phone, I said, why are we jumping through hoops to schedule with this 20-year-old brat? I was sitting here on Zoom the morning after the debate, live from Milwaukee, I thought we could have done a debate breakdown from someone who was literally there in the arena backstage. They said, no, we have to reschedule and fit Harry. So I took my tweet down. I said, okay, I'll be a team player if it's going to make him feel comfortable. But no one's ever vouched for me or jumped through hoops to make me feel welcomed or comfortable. And I thought the tweet was kind of funny, to be honest. Hey, it looks like you're up. We're all waiting for you on Breaking Points.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's fair. You made a point to be there.
I don't understand this. Like, what do they care? Like what do they care if two people?
They didn't want to blow the relationship. They didn't want to embarrass him, probably, because then they were afraid
but
they couldn't get him
do
back.
the tweet.
Right.
Why? Because they're okay. Go ahead, Link.
No, it was just like, I'm not going to have you on the show if you don't take the tweet down. And I was like, why am I being lumped in with this DNC shill, allegedly? Like, we do such different things. I mean, I've been on the campaign trail. I'm here in Milwaukee. Why am I being lumped in with some kid in a dorm room saying how hot Biden looks on a beach in a swimsuit? This is weird. You know, and it's just like this is ridiculous. Why am I being lumped in with this bullshit? And let me just say, though, I'm so grateful to have been on Breaking Points. I don't really know much about what's hot and what's not in politics. I just am grateful for any opportunity and hopefully can go back on and talk about all the issues I cover on my page, because to me, the Trump v. Biden debate was also such a fallacy, because does Crystal really think Biden's going to be the nominee? You know, when we get to the convention, does she really think Biden's going to be the guy? Because I'm already hearing rumblings they have backup plans.
Well, do you feel he's not going to be the guy?
I think it would be a mistake for the DNC to ram Biden down our throats come November of 2024. I mean, the data shows 70% and growing Americans don't want him to seek re-election or seek a second term. So why are they trying to fit a square peg in a round hole? I mean, even trying to make South Carolina the first state so he's not embarrassed again in Iowa and New Hampshire. Why are they doing this? It's almost like putting together some, crossword puzzle. It's just really weird. So no, I would not be surprised if Biden steps down off the ticket.
So let me ask you something that they didn't seem very interested in. Is there somebody out there that you do like?
So there are candidates that I really like. I've been spending time with Vivek Ramaswamy's campaign. I do like that he's an outsider. I don't agree with everything he has to say, but I don't agree with everything anyone has to say, to be honest. I thought at the debate, Nikki Haley was kind of the underdog who emerged at the debate. I thought Nikki Haley made great points. I also think RFK Jr., he hasn't been getting as much press right now, but I think RFK Jr. is still going to emerge. So we're just going to have to see what happens. I mean, I told them over and over, you never know in American politics what's going to happen. And everybody in the comments was like, why are they interrogating him to say who he's voting for? And it's like the summer of 2023. It just didn't make sense. And it also was like, why are we spending time on this when there's so many other issues? I mean, I was the only one who mentioned Maui, which was a recent news story, the only one who mentioned Ukraine.
Right.
Just like the Trump v. Biden debate. And then, they wanted to discredit what I had to say about his calamitous trip to Maui. But most everybody in Maui agrees they're not happy with
Link,
Biden.
can I ask a question can I ask a question to Link? Link, when you were pointing out those valid criticisms of the Biden administration, how they handled Maui, did you see that smirk on this smug little kid's face? And does that is a sign of sociopathy? Because
that was going to be my question: is the
yeah,
reaction to his
I'm
face?
so sorry, Keaton. I'm so
No, it's all
sorry.
right.
But it's like, to me, I think this kid is shooting for the stars. He clearly wants to be on the Democratic National Convention stage next year. That's what he's going for. That's.
I don't know. I only have a minor in psychology, so I don't think I can diagnose anybody. And like I said to Harry at the end, I know they said it was condescending, but all of the adults who reached out to me said it was genuine. I really hope he does get out of that lower Manhattan NYU bubble, because I went to NYU. I went to NYU too. I know what they're telling you in those classrooms. And I know when you live in Manhattan, you're in that bubble. And so I would love for him to go to Iowa, go to a small town and meet a rural voter who runs a small business and have empathy for why people aren't so enamored with Joe Biden. But I know that maybe goes against the talking points. And I don't have talking points. I don't even have media training. If I had media training, I wouldn't be calling into you guys right now. But
what are you trying to say, Link?
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, but it's like, all I can do is speak the truth. And you know what's funny is before we went on air on the Zoom call, Crystal asked me about being at the debates. And I said, I thought this person did well. They might emerge over the course of the next year. I like this person, this person. But then when we went on air, it was like, those people don't exist. It's Trump, 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 Trump versus Biden, Biden, Biden. And it just was not really tracking for me. And I kept saying, this is a false comparison.
Right.
Harry, his management has accepted $210,000 from the DNC. They say it's for flights and hotels. That's a lot of flights and hotels, to be honest.
No, come on.
How are you flying?
Yeah, on a G5 jet. No.
Yeah.
This was obvious from the beginning. I mean, like we said on the show, Biden announced, I think it was probably over the winter, it's probably 6-7 months ago by now. They announced that they were assembling a team of, Gen Z TikTokers.
It was the army of influencers.
Right, exactly.
And it's like, I've never accepted money from a political party media conglomerate. I was invited to the debate in Milwaukee, and I paid for my own flight and hotel, so none of this would ever come back up. People know I'm not bought, I'm not owned, and I work really hard. And I just felt kind of icky being lumped in with him, to be honest, because I come from a place of journalism and I've been interviewing major presidential candidates. And here I am I'm supposed to debate a kid who's allegedly paid off. Like,
right.
Kind of weird, but hopefully can go back on at some point and we can get into some of these other things. And I think it's doing really well. I think it's like one of the top 50 podcast episodes on Earth. So apparently it's doing okay. And I really do wish Harry the best. Like I said, I hope he travels and learns and sees other parts of the world. When you're born and raised in New York and then moved to Manhattan from another town in New York, you just don't really have the context. So when Harry's saying how Biden's done so much to help people who are struggling, when you go out and talk to them, like I said, the accomplishments on paper don't necessarily translate for Americans and the rest of the country, all these states that I know he likes to fly over between LA and New York.
But what really struck me watching him there, though, was how polished he is. I mean, I appreciate your hopefulness about his future, but I made the comparison to, a video recently surfaced of Pete Buttigieg when he was about that age. Mm-hmm. And he was the same soulless android then that he is now. Mm-hmm. Like if you're that in that bubble where it's not even being in the bubble, like, people go through phases. It's being that much of an operative at that age. Like he was pretty smooth. Like he's very professional. It's not like just a kid expressing his naive neoliberalism. This is a kid who's been very heavily coached with talking points.
but almost to his detriment, because now at 20, all of that is going to follow you. I mean, when your management is on record accepting $210,000 from the DNC, that's going to follow you. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have a hard time building a career, because how are you bought and paid for before you're even old enough to rent a car? You know, it's just kind of, it's rough. And I kept saying on the show, I'm a new media journalist. My medium happens to be TikTok. And I was under the guise that we were each going to represent our TikTok followings and our audiences of what we've heard. We have our ear to the streets. Here's what young people are thinking and saying. You know, I thought it was going to be that angle. And it was turning a little Andy Cohen, Real Housewives vibes, which made me feel kind of icky. And I didn't feel good about it. And
welcome to the business, kid.
I know. But what's funny is it's like when Crystal kept pushing me to say who I'm going to vote for, I'm a big fan of the show, The Circus. Does John Heilman or Mark McKinnon, are they coming out right now and telling you exactly who they're voting for? I mean, these are the people I look up to, not to sound like Pollyanna, but the people I look up to, they're not coming out and telling you who they're voting for in the voting booth over a year from now. And I don't know why it was a personal debate and not a debate about issues and things going on and all of that. But, it's been fun watching people react to it. I didn't know that this is a whole thing on YouTube where people watch and react. And
this is the name of the game right here. But so it's funny because you mentioned John Heilman as someone you look up to. So you're definitely not a Trump guy then, if that's the case. And you seem to, have, certain views.
But here's the thing though, right?
I'm sorry. Sorry, what was that?
No, it's not about not being it's not about, if I'm for Trump or for this or for that. You know how I would lose credibility if I come out and just tell people, here's who I'm voting for. And here's who
I understand that.
Because my people respect everybody in my comments say, thank you for being unbiased. Thank you.
Well, I wasn't suggesting that you have a bias or that you should reveal a bias if you do have a bias. But what I'm saying is just from what you've told us, which is that you have some views in common with Ramaswamy. You thought Nikki Haley made some good points, and you look up to John Heilman, right? I mean, it seems like at the very least, if you have a political bias, you're very conscious not to reveal it because it's very difficult to discern your politics given those three things. Because Ramaswamy and Haley were really clashing on a lot of points, and Heilman's politics are more or less Harry Sisson's politics, right? From what I can tell, right? Whatever efforts he makes to conceal them.
When I said I look up to, I'm eating tater tots and a burger, but we just broke.
Cheeseburger in paradise, baby. Today's the day.
When I say I look up to people like John Heilman and people in that journalistic realm, you would never see an episode of The Circus where Jennifer Palmieri and all of them sit around and say exactly who they're voting for. You wouldn't. Has Crystal come out on Breaking Points and said exactly who she's voting for? I mean, I thought she was a Bernie person up until last week. I just talked to Marianne Williamson. I think she officiated Crystal's wedding.
She did, yeah.
Yes.
I'm like, why is Link Lauren supposed to sit here and say exactly who I'm voting for November 24th? We're not sure.
Right.
I'm following everything that's going. Sometimes I keep up with all the events, all the trial, everything going on with Biden.
Link, you're breaking
up. You're starting to sound a little like the Charlie Brown teacher there.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, now.
Now you're back.
Yeah, no, it's just kind of, it was funny being interrogated about who I'm voting for. And I got so many messages from people being like, you should never wear who you're voting for on your sleeve that much. You're going to get so much hate. You're going to turn off these people and turn off these people. And we're already in such a partisan, polarized environment. I try and talk about issues from a common sense perspective where people on the left and the right can agree. So, it was interesting for sure. But I do wish Harry the best, Harry Sisson, and we'll see what happens with him. But he is very trained. He has his points down. He can rattle off all these different policies, which I said he was going to do on the show. Right. But, a lot of things he said, they have been debunked since the episode came out. I mean, he said this, and that.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Veterans have come out and said, your point about veterans, isn't true. This isn't true. This and that. And then to sit there and laugh and make faces when I'm raising valid concerns about Biden's trip to Maui, which everyone objectively knows was a calamitous trip. His own team.
Yes.
I spoke to someone on Biden's team a few nights ago who was like, we push him out on stage and we pray to make it through to another day. That's where we are. And so, you know, they're acting like it's far-fetched. And when I brought up the censorship on social media, of course, Harry's not feeling the censorship because he's going along with the DNC agenda that's mandated from on high. The algorithms love you.
Of course.
But censorship in our country, the First Amendment, if we don't have the First Amendment, we have nothing else in this country. And maybe he doesn't understand that. But to me, bringing up the censorship was something that was topical. He's in court right now, fighting the lower court's ruling. Let's keep it real. And you notice that Harry and Crystal, they didn't have a real argument except, well, Trump did it too. But Trump did it this way.
Which wasn't true.
Right. It was Trump did this, Trump did. Oh, well, I already knew when I mentioned the censorship, she was going to bring up the Twitter files and all this. Believe me, I've been on the internet for a while. I know what she's going to say. But I was just kind of like, to me, these are big issues. And we're also, you want to vote for a candidate who you want to have a beer with. And I don't think Americans feel like they want to have a beer with Joe Biden at this point, to be honest. I mean, the granddaughter in Arkansas, I know people think it's a petty point. They say, why are you bringing up the granddaughter in Arkansas? I've seen the comments from thousands of moms and thousands of women who thought they thought that was disgusting, to try and block the grandchild from having the Biden last name. You didn't want to pay her child support. She's almost 5 years old. She's never met her father or her grandfather, who's the president of the United States. That was an opportunity for Biden to say, look, my family's just got as many issues as your family. We're going to embrace this little girl and maybe even invite her up here to the White House. Instead, they shunned her, ridiculed her. She has no security, no anything at their house. So no, these are issues Americans care about, and Harry can laugh them off and say that they're petty right-wing talking points. But I'd love for him to talk to real moms across this country and real women who they think this is a big deal.
All right, so
also, if you put your ear to the ground, I don't know if it's going to happen. It sounds like you listen to a lot of people on the right as well as the left. They're really talking about bringing articles of impeachment against Biden on the Ukraine stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be up to Kevin McCarthy, right? So it's sort of in his purview if he wants to bring about articles of impeachment. The thing I've been saying is, look, if you're going to do articles of impeachment, you better have a bullseye shot, because if you do impeachment and it doesn't stick, it's going to follow for years to come. And I'm sick of, we always do in this country, we do impeachments, but then the person's never gone. It's like, they were impeached in this part or impeached here. It's like, okay, but they're still there. Like the impeachment didn't stick. Right. So if they're going to try and impeach Joe Biden, you better not miss the shot if you take
Well, it's about, I mean, when you say missing the shot, it's really more, yeah, I mean, it's about winning the PR battle. I mean, they're never going to get 2/3 majority to oust him from office, but it's about, can you make the case to the public in advance of an election, or will it look like you overstepped, and will it end up backfiring? Like those are the concerns that generally come up surrounding that. I got some questions from the chat. Some people I noticed posting in the chat that said they were interested in you interviewing Dr. Cornel West running on the Green Party candidate. I got a lot of people mentioning that. Do you have any interest in doing that? What are your thoughts on his candidacy quickly? I know I'll let you get back to your cheeseburger soon.
Yeah, so I'm trying to schedule right now to get to all of the candidates. It's just hard trying to, coordinate schedules and everything. So like I said, I've interviewed quite a few. I'm going to the next debate as well, so hopefully can connect with the rest who I haven't spoken to. But as for Cornel West, I'd love to talk with him. I think everybody should have the balls to sit down and talk with anyone, okay? We can't live in our siloed little world of this network covers this and this covers this. I want to sit down and talk to anybody. So I'd love to talk to Cornel West. I was disgusted by Harry Sisson's tweets about Cornel West. I think he kind of said he was like a deadbeat dad who didn't pay child support or something. Yeah. I was hearing about all this at like 6 a.m. before going on Breaking Points because I was in a different time zone. And so I was going in like, this kid, I just don't get it. So no, I'd love to talk to Cornel West. And I know some people have said that I should talk to him. And yeah, what other questions do the audience have? Should I be girding my loins? Or are they okay?
Oh no, I mean, if you want to take a couple more, you could take. Here, well, you gave us a super chat, which thanks for the donation, but we were on it from some other chats though. Here, I don't know if you want to go here, but well, as long as you're here, Ruthless Criticism asked if you bleached your hair to try and mess with Crystal's head, because I don't know if you know that her husband has bleached blonde hair too. I don't know if you're that.
I did not know that until afterward
figured.
when a million people mentioned it to me and said that I look like. It's like people think I've never heard that I look like Draco Malfoy. It's like I've heard this my whole life. I look like the Harry Potter character. Believe me, I get it. But no, did not change my hair for Crystal.
Okay, so he did not change his hair for Crystal. We have confirmation on that. Garble, this is the most coherent question Garble has asked us all night, actually. Does Link believe in putting tots in the burger? So do you put...
No, I do not have the tots in the burger. Sorry to disappoint.
Okay, so tots are a side dish. Beautiful.
Side dish.
All right, well, I guess that's all our audience has. Hey, Link, it was great to meet you. Thanks for doing this impromptu. We would love to set up something more formal, have you back on the show for
sure.
a full, more formal thing. Because I have a lot of questions I could ask you based on what you told me, but we will save that for another time and do a more formal setup. I'd love to keep in touch.
For sure. And I'm sorry for commandeering. Someone was doing a reaction the other night, and I said, can I call in? How do I do this? But, I just felt like we needed some context. I think it's important to note that I was ready to go last week. We rescheduled to accommodate him. I was told to take my tweet down to accommodate him and his feelings.
And to save the show some face. Because they probably they probably would have thought it was embarrassing if a guest bailed on them. That's probably why they didn't want to know.
Well,
they didn't
the
want
guest
people to
already
know
bailed. The guest had already bailed. But,
Yeah.
I did say that I've never been in a gangbang, but now I can say I have. So,
All right.
I've never experienced a gangbang, but after breaking points, I can say I have. But no, I wish Harry the best, and thanks for chatting. I'll talk to you guys later.
Great to meet you.
Thank you very much for calling in, Link.
All right, bye.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Enjoy that burger.
All right, Link Lauren, everybody. How about that? We got an impromptu interview tonight with
cool.
one of the main subjects of the show. That was cool.
We've had people like in the chat that we were covering, but we never had them call in before.
We never have them ask for a call in. Yeah, exactly. Jessica, look at Getter platform, free speech, user friendly. All right, will do. Thank you. I've heard things about that, but I haven't checked it out yet. Crystal Ball says DC also a paid DNC influencer, obviously. Well, of a certain kind, perhaps less formally than Sisson. Sisson's actually getting paid, right? And it's just amazing that
he's on his money. That kid is on his money.
On his money. That's right. I gotta get rid of this. I'll hide that. Let's get to this one from Baza. Thanks for the $5, Baza. I don't believe for a second that Russell has never tried Greek. You mean what? Greek, the language?
Greek food?
Or Greek food?
I mean, I live in New York.
Yeah, Greek food is amazing. I love Greek food.
I'm going to be having the real thing soon.
Oh, yeah. I love Greek food. One of my favorites. Lemon, olive oil, salt, oregano. Those are the four. It's simple. The thing about Greek food that I love is it's very simple.
That's it. I dated a Greek girl for a while. Maybe that's what he meant. And she actually turned me on to the way that they cook. And yeah, it's like oil, salt, pepper, like
lemon,
really,
oregano.
Really, really basic.
Fancy. It's really basic, but they make it sing. They make the ingredients sing.
It works.
Indeed. Ask Link to interview Cornel West. On it. Saw it.
On it.
Thank you. All right, folks. Well, this ran long, but for good reason. Obviously, we want to thank Link Lauren for finding us out and calling in. That was a treat. Thanks, Virtuoso, for calling in. Thank you guys all for being here. Thank you all in the Rumble chat. Thank you all in the YouTube chat over on Rockfin. Great crowd tonight. You can check us out, patreon.com/do dissidents to support this show. The more we get signed up, the safer this operation is, the easier it is to add new streams. So we've hit our goal for the GoFundMe fundraiser. We are going to start another ongoing fundraiser for side projects, extra projects, documentary films, on-the-ground reporting, things like that. But one big drive that we're making is to do our 4th stream of the week. We want to get 500 supporters a month. So we are at about 300 now. We've made some progress from where we were when we started, but we add a couple hundred more of you guys and we can afford to do our 4th stream of the week. That stream will be over on Rumble. That'll be an uncensored stream, a morning show, 1 hour show once a week. So in order to get there, though, because for adding a fourth stream, obviously we have to be able to afford to do that. So to afford to do that, we will need 500
have to be able to not
subscribers.
Work
right, we have to be able to not work because we're going to do it during the daytime. So once we get to 500 subs, we're adding a fourth show per week. And so if you can help get us there at patreon.com/DoDissidents, we would love you for that. Also go to DoDissidents.substack.com where you could sign up as a paid member or as a free subscriber to stay in touch with us. Great show tonight. Got that unexpected treat of an impromptu interview, so that was a lot of fun. Thank you guys all very, very much for being here. Wish Russell a safe travels. How do you say bon voyage in Italian?
I don't know. Well, that would be bon, but I don't know the travel.
Yeah, I don't know what the travel word is, but anyway. Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.
Next time we hear from Russell, he will be across the sea. But we will see you all back here on Wednesday, September 6th.
All right. I'll give you fucking animals some fucking maiden, goddammit.
Oh, the maiden? Oh, they wanted the real thing. That's right. Beautiful. Yes, the real thing, not just the Margaritaville, but the real thing for 666 likes. Are we up to 666 likes now? Beautiful. Folks, it was a pleasure. As always, thank you guys very much for being here. We'll see you Wednesday night, 8 p.m., same place, same time. Be safe and be well.
I will see you from Italia. Until then, courage.
Courage.
Please clap.